Hello and welcome back to Tradespotting. We're going to take a look at SPY and the volatility indices to see what could be happening. Some tasty trades coming up, I expect, and we'll talk about all the charts that you want to look at, all the consequences of potential moves, consequences of recent moves, and answer any questions you might have about any other topics. Feel free to ask about what any of them might happen to be. Feel free, and if you're not watching this live, feel free to ask in the comments afterwards, and we can talk about other things. Rocky will have probably caught your attention yesterday, Rocky Outcrop, on YouTube with his video about central banks. You know, the conversation about Andrew Bailey's decision yesterday to increase 50 basis points on the interest here in the UK, and why he did that. The potential for second phase inflation. That's touching on second round of the second round. What does that refer to in economics? The second round. It comes after changes in the estimated trajectory of key economic financial variables. Yeah. So like firms, households, businesses, and governments all react to the unfolding scenario, and it's what happens next, you know, and it's what's going to be the conversation in all these financial YouTube channels over the next month, 2 months, will be probably once they've identified and figured out this is like the nugget of information that will drive the narrative. Everyone will be talking about secondary phase inflation. Second round effects emanate from the ability of price setting firms, that is often natural monopolies, unnatural monopolies, primary producers, and so on, and wage setting firms such as the public sector employees and like the largest private sector employees and so on. They'll need to increase their prices, whether that comes through markups in their products and marginal increases, marginal cost driving up the price, or whether like from the first round of inflation, or whether it be wages that drive up the prices and then lead to, you know, further increases in the general prices of food, goods and services, right? So these are all shocks, response shocks, and they cause prices to rise again, you know, and this is what everyone would be worried about, why they clamp down on inflation so hard, why it's, despite them only having blunt tools, you'll be like, well, the question isn't are the tools good enough, but it's just thank goodness we've got something, because an overheating economy that spirals out of control leads to 1920 type of disasters. You know, there's no just let's just cross our fingers and hope we get out of it, like Liz Truss in the UK seems to think is possible. You know, inflation is an insidious disease that affects the poorest in society, and it will have a terrible effect. The second phase inflation, even if you don't notice it personally, even if economies don't go into depression, even if recessions, should they come, are short-lived, the lowest rung of society will be the hardest hit, and you might not notice it, but it will cause terrible tragedy, which will weigh on the recovery considerably. And that's why it's a death spiral. This is the beginning of that spiral. Needs to be arrested immediately, and it's why Andrew Bailey added 50 basis points yesterday to the stock exchange. Right, if he could, he would, to the interest rate here in the UK. And you can expect Jerome McClamber back out of the closet and correct his most recent mistake, as he's been invited to by Andrew. We've talked about this, folks. We've talked about how the Bank of England doesn't like closets, and as Rocky said yesterday, Ayo, Ayo to central banks sat down by the fire. My central bank said to your central bank, I'm going to set your money on fire. Wayo, wayo, Ayo, Ayo. Let's get into the charts, shall we? BBBY. Downward sloping trend on this leg of price action. Tiny time frames, opened up with a gap, moved to the top side, huge percentage increase, up over 25% at one point. 200 period moving average approaching this breakout point of around 636. A flash on the 5-minute time frame down at 666. That'd take you below already where the 50 simple is down here. 15-minute time frame. 50 simple is within the gap and at this downward sloping resistance, or sorry, this horizontal resistance, it's a positive slope, and you have a positive slope on the 200 period moving average. So on the 15-minute time frame, positive slope, positive splay, and price action putting in higher highs. That's good, but there's a flash below at $6.66. There's the gap that starts at 6.54 and finishes at around 6.15. 200 period moving average inside that gap in the 5-minute, 15-minute time frame. You see the 50 simple at the top side of it. Maybe these time frames don't suggest price action is coming down immediately and this is a potential bull flag, maybe. Or maybe they say you're going to see a better picture on a higher time frame. Here's the 30-minute time frame where you've got a flash at 4.775. That'd be a retest of this breakout. And it would be approaching these sort of levels. Right now, why is this level marked on the chart? Well, because if you're watching GME Tradespotting's take on BBBY, you'll see that this is the long, right? This is the place where Tradespotting thought there would be a potential long. When we were doing these sort of moves, we came back, we got that entry, and prices have moved up since, right? They moved back up above this downward sloping resistance, at which point we targeted the previous high within the prior formation, which we've exceeded and then gone on to various Fibonacci targets. If we take it from this high to this low, 886 retracement, you break above that, 1.13, that was the next target, and we made it there and no further. Okay, which also, when we go up to 2-hour time frame and look left, you can see this was a flash area, right? This was a target on a trade, right? So if you're watching Tradespotting all the time, then you'll have a better picture of what her overall perspective are on the trades, though I do have a bearish take on BBBY. I think that at the very least you'll come down and test that 200 period moving average, at which point you'll have filled one gap that you created today, but not completely defeated this idea of escaping this trend. At that stage, you'll have retraced so much from this move that you'll be looking for a retest, you know, and that will be concerning to people anyone who's been buying it around $8 to see it pushing back down to 6 and below. 50 simple comes in at 542. And when we go back up then and see those other flashes, like 4-hour flash at 4.94, that's down below the 50 simple even here. And then you're looking at this time frame, right? You can see that while you have got a potential harmonic, which suggested this entry, which is why this trade is relevant to doomslayers. And you may have remembered that I say, right, we got to be careful here with these flashes below, because Tradespotting said, right, BBBY is terrible, right? It's so bad. And you may remember me saying this because I said it twice. It's so bad that it might actually be okay for a while. It might actually be bullish temporarily because it's so awful, and it's been so awful for so long for such good reason that it's perfectly primed to make a move back to the top side. There's a downward sloping resistance, there's a golden pocket retracement. And if you make it above the 50 simple breakout of this formation, if you don't have a retest, then you're going to go with that 200 period moving average. A 1618 extension be the next target after 1.13, 50% retracement, 1127, the golden pocket up at 1452. And you could come up to around $14, or you could go to 9, right? On the way, you could go up to around 9. And a 382 retracement, having broken the 236 of this breakdown fib, it takes you from your C to your D, right? 382. That'd be maybe a take profit 2 on this particular harmonic. You might have been looking at that thinking this is a good exit if it does push higher, right? At which Tradespotting might be, with any calls he had left from these trades that's got in around these levels, might be how he was taking things. So it's not financial advice. And like I say, I've got a bearish inflection on this thing, right? I think it's a short is the trade if you're entering any time after that point there, because I know how to trade breakouts. And maybe you could check out that video on my channel, how to trade breakouts. It's definitely going to help you wherever you are. If you're looking at this particular ticker right now and you're not in, there's the gap, there's the flash, there's the 50 simple mean, this downward sloping resistance. You're already up over, you were up over 25%. That's a quarter of price action pre-market. There are people who trade against that type of volatility who have got much larger accounts than people who want to move this thing. And the truth is that they're already invested, and they're not to the point cornered that they can't get out of it where they might be in other trades with GME. This is the sort of thing that can easily be managed, and I expect will be over the next few days. So while you do have slightly potential higher targets, and there are areas to go for, a retest of these zones perfectly acceptable. And if you consider this in the context of what it's been doing, you know, downward sloping on a daily time frame with lower highs, lower lows. You know, that's a daily trend to the downside. You're going to have to defeat an awful lot of targets above before you could say that this isn't bearish with regards to a trend on significant time frames. So the first place you've got any opportunities at 4 hour, and like, you know, It's still the same higher highs, higher lows. So it's still the same story, right? So I hope that's some value to some people. It's not financial advice, right? But 30-minute time frames where you get a picture of momentum, you can see you've got divergence at the minute, right? You're oversold, you've got divergence. It's perfectly easy to compare these two areas together. You can see that there's like a harmonic on your RSI there. You've got this thing, looks like it's going to come down. Price action easily would like want to test this breakout zone. It's probably going in at 4775 in the not too distant future, you know. 1 hour time frame. You've made it back towards horizontal levels of resistance and the extension. That's like, you know, a very different risk profile from how it was below. I know people look at that as a bull flag, but it looks more like a pennant to me that could break down. 2 hour time frame, you see the flash right now. There's a lot of value here. 4 hour time frame flash at 494. This is a very, 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 very valuable take on BBBY for people who are trading at either side of the trade and whatever you're looking at. There's a 2-day time frame. 50 simple dramatic negative slope there. You know, these are all coming in ahead of these top side targets. Back up to the weekly. This is the reason that you might be looking for higher targets. There is a death cross with a 50 simple going through the 200 period moving average. That is likely to be, you know, counterintuitive. That would take prices back up there because people want to test the validity of this signal, because it's such a significant signal. And on the weekly time frame, it doesn't necessarily perform the same way as it does on the daily. So aiming for that on that one technical artifact alone isn't really fantastic trading from a technical perspective on that one reason alone. There would have to be, you know, like you do have a harmonic at the bottom and a potential reversal harmonic, and also a breakout of a trend, but you don't have a retest. And in this current move, while you're pushing out the bearish control zone, you know, you are due for a retest of some sort of levels, and you've got these gaps in that. And it look this, let's see, looking left, you know, there's heaps of continuation divergence here. Going to push it back down, test these levels, and then you're going to have to hope for another round of bullish divergence when you get there. And I'm very clear about this, right? Very clear about this. What I think, there are these potential areas and whatnot, and it does make it difficult to manage certain trades going from certain areas in certain directions, taking it at different times. So if you're trading option contracts, it might be difficult, especially if they're short. But, you know, you've made it to the 1.13. There's a way to manage that trade depending on your expiry and what you're doing. Anyway, overall, I think I've covered both sides of that trade, and I've given as much value as I can to help people in this financial advice. So that's BBBY. And then one of the things that we are to help people that we're asking about it. Other things that might be worth looking at immediately. There are people are here. You know, you can at me if I can see it. I didn't actually see anything recently there. Hello, everybody. Tradespotting stream. Hello, Merrick. Yes, it is. So feel free to let me know if you want to see anything in particular. Oh, I forgot to open that thing, didn't I? Silly me. Sorry. And what else will we look at now? SPY or GME next, I suppose, isn't it? Where is this? There it is. Sorry. XD. FNKO was a great short. You and Rocky are legends. 5 and 5 videos are also amazing. FNKO. There goes the wheel too. I didn't get the thing open in time. I knew it should have gone faster. Thanks, Eeks. Maybe I'll still make it. It is possible. Isn't it, printer machine? Oh, go, go, go. Ah, probably not. Thanks, Eeks. $20 too. Appreciate it. Cheers. FNKO. Do you want to have a look at what it's been up to? Oof, look at that, eh? Big dip. 219, currently 21.97. What's the weekly look like? There's a gap above, be careful with that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, row. That looks like really nasty. Good trade. Daily, what are you saying? I mean, there's obviously that gap to be wary of. You've got this really low RSI looking back. That's down to these lows. Manage that trade. I'm sure you're able. You already took some profit. Excellent. Good to hear, man. Dumpity dump. Yeah, maybe that trade or something similar will be on the cards again. And ace, $20. Whoa. That's the wheel back to injuring me again. Hola. Thanks, Ace. See, this is an interactive stream. You can attack me or employ devices around me to attack me. It's In fact, it's really good fun. No other YouTuber has anything like it. It's like Robot Wars. Only I can't fight back. It's like that. Hello, alerts. Please let me control this wheel. It's attacking me. Alrighty. So it's like that song, don't like this, the sound of your own wheels grind you down or that. Well, this thing, I mean, I don't know if there's any avoiding it. Risk management in every way. Not in this house. Avoiding dangers in stocks and rooms. Oh, that's you giving me credit where it's not true. I'm at peril. At all times, I'm in great peril. I need to manage that risk somehow. Some sort of safety net or something. I thought it'd calm down, but like I say, it's empathetic, and I've obviously been hitting the JVR too often this week. Hit the like, you heathens. Yes. You know. So, if you are going to be heaving, be even for 100 nice. Buying GME sounds good. Says, let's check it out. What was on there? Oh, XD. Well, you had a good look. We're going down. Great. This is looking like it's 410. It's dropping back down from those highs. This is the risk is on, right? So if SPY is falling, a lot of people trade puts, and the way to do that is potentially also to take like the ultra short UVXY. Whoops. You could try the UVXY, right? Instead of trading puts on SPY, you could take this trade on UVXY. Maybe you don't have access depending on your broker. Depending on how your broker is, you might not have access, in which case there's other tickers too, but we can look at them in a minute. This potential trade, incredible. You might have seen the 5 and 5 earlier this morning, or you might have seen me talk about it recently. I mean, I planned this trade for ages and ages and ages, and there's others that go along different exchanges. Boom. Bruley, can we look at GWSO, Global Warming Solution? Betcha. Oh no, it's happened again. Shit. Stop it. Any moment now. Any moment now. Jeez. Oh my God, right? That's mental, right? It's very, very difficult. It is a washing machine sound, isn't it, GS? We've got all sorts of MacGyver things around here. What's Bruley says GWSO, yes, global warming solution. Friends said they're the best and cheapest battery producers right now, so that might be a good short. Maybe it's a ticker to add to the solar list. Nice one. Let's look at that. Good point, Bruley. The wheel of doom calls for blood. It does. It's awful. And today's Friday. It knows what's coming later. Advanced slush and wheel excitement. Quite possibly. Doesn't UVXY only go down? Does on the long-term time frames. You betcha. Only goes down, yo. Only goes down. Though it is ultra short, right? So, you know, you can take this temporarily, right? It's compounding, so you'll be careful with that. And, you know, not for long-term trades, maybe. Just like extremely strong reactionary trades might be where you're looking for it. In which case, you know, there is a different perspective, way of managing these trades, that's for sure. Dead Money makes a good point there. Though what he's talking about is the trend. Yeah, the trend. It's always down since like 2000. When is this? 2012. Yeah. So it's always down. Aye. This is an ultra short. And like if you're looking to take SPY puts and you're short term, and they're like cover, or you're worried about, you know, things falling, and you want to like. Anyway, so UVXY is this sort of option. You're right. And you don't necessarily going to get this move, right, from $10 to 11,000, 12,000, right? You're maybe not going to get that. 17,000, 30,000. That might not all happen. There was a trade though that went from 102 to, you know, 1,500. That was the most recent oscillation back up. Just tested 236. You had 1, 2, 3 goes at that. So that was a huge move. Since that high and then coming into these lows. If you're to move back up again, 236 at the minute comes in at 30. It's at 10, that's 30. That's like a trade, right? That's a trade, certainly. And it would only take you back to the downward sloping resistance at the minute, which you would meet in around 12th of September, 11th of September, my birthday. Whoop, whoop. So, you know, timing it is, you know, and how long you hold it is unfortunately, like you're only in control of so much of those aspects of the market you interface with, and price action does its own thing. So there would be the entry. It's at the minute. There would be a stop. You also have a tighter trade that we already talked about previously, should you want it. And you could take this trade a number of times. Should get there, and you probably get something to test upside that thing here. Part of the reason for it is that this isn't the only relevant trend line. It's also this underneath 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially, you know, call this just overall twice. You maybe look for some sort of a bounce around these areas, and if it picks up to any degree, you will have like 17 is where you find a 50 simple at the minute, or 1630. So that's already, you know, huge percentages, and it's already facing bullish divergence. This is a weekly time frame, so you have other things to look at. Daily pushing lower, not necessarily divergent at these recent lows, but then you look back here. Well, I mean, you know, there's a number of areas where you'd be thinking, hey, price action is pushing lower. RSI, not so much. So inflection points, whether or not they defeat the formation you're in at the minute, is another question. Let's take it from these highs down. Say like there's this potential area meeting the 50 simple and 200 period moving average on the daily time frame. Then you're looking in at the 4 hour where you might be looking to take the trade. You see that entry. You see there's a flash at 12.22. That's where a 50 simple is. You know, in terms of managing this trade, there's loads of areas where it can be like immediately safe, or say your loss restricted to, you know, initially quite tight levels, and then subsequently you could be in profit if you time it properly. And like timing it properly might mean not just any up and done all of that, but down at the 30 minutes and looking for, you know, there's 1040 flash at the minute. So, you know, I mean, it's making it easy for you with this indicator. It's basically cheating it yourself, right? Which you can at www.patreon.com/ROKU/outcrop/ get this indicator, change your life trading. Yo. Right, it's just www.patreon.com/ROKU/outcrop and the indicator tier. And then you also get on the Discord and everything else, right? So it's, I mean, you saw for yourself what it does there, so it's not like I need to sell it to you, right? So, and it's not that sort of thing anyway, right? 1140, there you go up there. 200 period moving average is also a target there. A short term, whether you make it above all these hard high levels, it's a different question. We're looking at this from momentum, though. You've got class B, bullish divergence here, price pushing lower, RSI not doing so. Overall, you retested the bearish control zone at a low. Bullish divergence on the macro side of things. Could easily bounce up here. Thanks, Lisa. 50 simple being resistance to 58. 200 period at 1141. That's a percentage trade in and of itself, right? So anyway, these are the time frames you're looking at it. You're not going to necessarily see a long-term move, you know, triggered here on the 30 minutes, but you'll see potential moves and trades that you could move stops into profit with. And like Dead Money says, it doesn't always go down. So that'd be a sensible way of handling things. And if you just instead want to look at what? Boom. Short-term futures on the VIX. Will we take this back at a daily? So this like provides you with the ability to trade the VIX, not quite based on the same idea of like SPY collapsing necessarily, just general volatility. This is volatility leveraged and gives you the opportunity to take similar trades based on similar moves due to externals, like things that aren't due simply to the trade, you know, anyway, similar chart, right? Look, volume profile similar, trade similar there, bullish divergence similar, and you'll see things being triggered around here. Maybe this is available to you if UVXY isn't. And like, this is all very similar deal, right? Because you're not necessarily looking for the trade, like I say, back up to 100 to, what is that, a million or something, right? You're not looking to go from 21 to a million. You're not really. You really aren't. You're actually just looking to go to 30 or 200 period moving average at 80. That's like quite a lot. So these are the sort of things, and it can provide you with the same mechanism of insurance over other positions in your account as, say, for example, SPY puts. They can, right? Also, those SPY puts, brilliant option too. We'll get to SPY puts in a second. Anyway, all of this is coming from VIX, which is volatility index, CBOE. But based on SPY, right? Top 500 S&P. So here we have this measure where we said there was a potential trade, because this thing looks like it could come down to around 18. 18 would be amazing level to get this thing, and that you could target it back up around 30, maybe even 50, right? Now, this is the sort of thing you could try and take to the higher levels, and might also be providing the same opportunity as a SPY put would in terms of protection over your account. But if you took this sort of thing, say for example when prices were about to make some huge move to the top side, then you'd have a different inflection. You know, you're maybe provided the same opportunity in terms of protection and cover, while also not being restricted with regards to like the direction of price action, providing validity to your trade. So like there's an extra dimension of opportunity without necessarily increased risk. So that's an opportunity to look into, you know, and we'll happily talk about that more, make a video on it specifically or whatever if you like. And like maybe we should do about all the different potential tickers with regards to volatility and VIX. Anyway, so here you're looking at this thing. We'll look at SPY in a second, right? And we'll see what this tells us about that. You know, generally speaking, if SPY is slowly going up or whatever, this thing will slowly be going down, especially if the range of those increased movements are increasingly small or like decreasing in size, same thing, then this would likely be going down, right? So volatility is a measure of this dispersal of prices over a range. There's an upward sloping support line. You can't definitively say you've broken. If you were, you could potentially say you're opening and closing below it there at weekly time frame. This is testing 200 period moving average. You can see that the bodies like to do that when it reached it previously, found it resistance when it was below it. You know, it's like not for me. It's very obvious, right? Actually, it is for me to do it. You should already know this, that the 200 period moving average is an important technical artifact, especially on a weekly and daily time frame. Down at the daily time frame, and it's provided resistance here as you met this downward sloping trend line. If you come back in around as we talk about potential harmonics, here's also a similar situation on VIX as there is on UVXY. Was that where we were looking at one previously? Anyway, there is one there here. So the D at $20, and this is a potential trade, and even better, you get in around 18. There's various levels that you would be able to manage this trade. That's one suggested stop loss for this entry. Could potentially be in there looking for it again. If you're looking at for it, get this X here, 1790, that sort of level. So depending on how many times you would try this and where you think you'd be wrong, you know, for example, you could take this as anything below where you enter as being immediately a good place to put a stop on one potential trade. Looking left, you can see this other previous low at 1990, and then this low 1850, 1864. It could, of course, be going lower, right? There's an 886 retracement in these levels, and that's all of that is in the flying in the face of what the vast majority of people would be talking about trading who were like wanting other people to hear their opinion because of the reasons that they're motivated for other people listening to them. Whereas I'm just talking about what I'm thinking right now, and the people that listen to it have already taken that hit of those people. Right, anywho, right, long story short, thanks for tuning in. So here's the potential, right? If what I like about this thing is that also everybody's wrong, which is great. There's some sort of idea of resistance. You can see the downward sloping trend line, and on the 30-minute time frame, this is still persisting below the center line, the RSI, and on the MACD, that looks awful, and you don't even need to stretch it out to say it looks awful. I mean, what's it doing? It's afraid of something, right? So it's below the center line because, you know, there's like, what's going on up here, right? What's so bad? Anywho, it can't do it. Histogram provides you with a potential bullish divergence here. Like, they've not got the momentum on the histogram to pushing price action lower, though it did, clearly. And that led to reaction. That's been a lower high. Trend continues. Also saw a touch of continuation divergence at this stage, so the trend will persist. Come back down to this support. You've not yet tested the bearish control zone. You've not yet completely tested this horizontal level, though you did wick towards the body closes. So that's something. That's a reason for the reaction. This candle itself on the 4 hour is only 50% retrace. So, and that includes the rejection on the top side. So, well, it opened up there and then this wick came back, right? So we'll see how that progresses. Lower term time frames giving you more information, of course, as always. So this looks awful here, this looks awful here, and I'd expect that it might try lower, which would be brilliant, and which would mean that SPY isn't imminently collapsing. Okay, so let's move on to SPY now. Where are you? Think this is hiding SPY, right? 200 period moving average pushing above it. You're not convincingly getting away from it there, put it lightly. Here's like Newton's cradle. But anywho, right, sorry, get distracted, right? 200 period moving average, 4 hour time frame. Let's start on the daily. Keep it real. 50 simples below you there at 393, and that's a target for Tradespotting. definitely has been for a while. There's 200 moving average above at 430, which is like where it could go to screw everybody and trick everybody. It totally could happen. Yo, John, we looked at 6 earlier. I hope that was helpful. So, 200 period on the 5 or 5 in it, you can see that. If you've not seen that video, I put 5 or 5 out earlier. It's public now. You get half an hour or whatever before market open. You get access to that because I think it's useful, and it's like added value to the people on Patreon and channel members. So if you want to do those things, that's really appreciated. Patreon's loads of different value there, like loads of different things now, and more stuff going on. All different types of industries to trade and ways to trade them. And that's the place to get access to all of my stuff is on the Patreon and www.patreon.com/tradespotting. And you get access to everything I ever do on any paid way ever via Rocky's Discord, which is on the indicator tier on his Patreon. So that's really the best place to be, is Rocky and Outcrop's Patreon. But if you're only interested in the stuff I do, then you get, or you've got like want us to give back to this way the channel works or support this channel, then there's all those options, right? Anyway, whatever, I'm sure if you were that motivated to do, you'd be able to figure it out. So there's also trying to make it worth what everyone's while. And it's fucking is, right? So, or I think so, right? Anyway, willing to listen to constructive feedback, not. Anyway, right, so there's the bullish control zone, and you've not managed to make it in there, and this is bearishly divergent class B, and that's gone through fine, and the histogram says it's all good. For daily time frame says it's okay, it's not imminently collapsing, but then you're at the top of the bullish control zone, you're not managing to make it in. It's class B bullish divergent, you come back down. Support is an evolving trend line, i.e. it's diagonal as opposed to horizontal. There's this 50 simple, we talked about that. We already talked about that. Where's the daily, right? So holding this formation at the minute, it doesn't look like it's imminent collapse, but it's already made it to the diagonal support in the channel. And should it break its own moving average, having tested the bullish control zone twice, then I'd expect it to test the center line, which would anticipate it then moving out of this upward sloping trend line and testing one horizontal. The first technical artifact, looking at the daily time frame, is this 50 simple at 393. That's down to 4 hour, and it's exactly the same story. Is there also a gap or something in here? Oh, it was the previous target. We'll find out if there is or not. Texas Tanker. Okay, Jamie, can we take AMC and GME W TF as always? You betcha, Jen. 10. Texas Tanker. Sorry. Jen did ask for something earlier, though. What was it? Oh, I saw it, but I don't remember. Texas Tanker. Yes, Texas Tanker. Can we take a look at AMC and GME W TF as always? You betcha we can, and you've probably suspected we would have anyway, Mr. Tanker. And yeah, and we can, and you've just been nice to me. Appreciate very, very much. Good man. Cheers. Thanks. Sorry. What? 200 period moving average. What did we get to here? Right. RYCEY. So that was RYCEY. Yes. Cheers, then. RYCEY. Slow train. Right. Cool. Thanks for keeping my brain together, everybody. So, please glide past the like button. Yeah. Please glide past yourself down at the like button. I'm still at the joke about things, right? So 409, I mean, that's like not crazy. You already come there. It was the low today, 4960. So 200 period moving average is there, right? Got a important level on 4 hour. Horizontal, you see resistance, support, previous resistance. Not really, little bits, right? 200 period moving average is what you're paying attention to. It doesn't really matter what price it comes in at. And it does matter, it's 409. Anyway, down to the 1 hour, because there's something else with the 2 hours or anything there. No. 1 hour, holding the 50 simple at the minute. That's why you would do, because 200 period 4 hour, 1 hour, 4 hour, you see how it works. Maths. If you know, you know. Yeah. If you know, you know. So that's not time for this Lushing music. So that's a very simple 409.59, but it's Friday. You know, it's it's Friday. So yes, Tradespotting, you're on the internet, remember, right? So this histogram, right? That's, you know, price action pushing down. Still convergent, fine. Lost the center line on our time frame, right? So you've got definitively something actually to talk about here, which isn't good, and suggests that you might come down. Which, when you look left here, you can see that it had bullish divergence, right? Came pushed up. All right, okay. That's really bad news, right? So this is a thing called a failure swing. We should learn about on the course better than I'm going to be able to explain here in the next 2 minutes. But price action came up here, it's higher here, it's divergent. At the same time, that divergence, as measured by the RSI, is found at a turning point around the bottom of the bullish control zone, and subsequently price action dropped in response to that divergence. And what comes next? Well, sometimes you get a little bit of a hint in that when the RSI falls through the center line, price action also breaks a horizontal. You had a gap in there, have you? Maybe. And at 410 filled that. That's that question answered. 50 simple, easy, push it up here. But if it doesn't and you feel it get back above the center line, that's awful. And then you would be targeting this thing to, at the very least, be testing this support line. Likely we're trying to get back down, fill this gap here. It looks like there is around 406. That previous resistance, that's also like this elasticity within the move expressed down to that retest of that level, 406, 2618. If you were to break that previous fib, where does that come in now with the next high? And that'd be a 1.13 extension. So that's your first place en route at 408. And then should you break it, 1618 extension 405, testing this support line. And then if that doesn't hold, you'll break out of it. Next horizontal level, previous 886 at 2618 here, top side of that previous target at 400. That's also psychological level, right? So you've got 400, and then you make a move of that big on SPY, and it keeps going. It's 200 period moving average is 392, 393, and that target for Tradespotting like will be on the cards, even if there is moves back up again, right? You'd have to break into this formation, probably end up in the head and shoulders. That's the top side of a trend. Looking left, you've met this area of resistance. You've got what's perfectly good reason here. You've also got a fucking failure around the 1 hour time frame. Is that what we were just looking at and I just spread out, or was that on the 30 minute? Is this happening on the 1 hour time frame? Mate, it is. It's also on the 1 hour. That's fucking shit. Right, so pardon my language there. So that looks awful, right? Really, really dangerous. And like as such, it could just fucking go to 430, trick everybody. Oh my goodness, that'd be so hilarious, and then crash, right? But I actually don't anticipate that. I think it's going to break out of this situation. So like this is written all over this is absolutely crap. There is this inflection point here, people looking at it and thinking, hey, that's lower in RSI and it's not lower in price action. This is an uptrend. That's continuation divergence. It's going to move back up again. You know, you've got a 50 simple period moving average. You've got a horizontal level, and you've got every reason to do it. So let's go. But if that doesn't match to make it back above there, then get out of town time. It is. It's get out of town. And everyone will be trapped. And you'll look after it and think, oh, they trapped us, but they didn't trap you. It's just SPY. You know, everyone's so wrong all the time. It's anyway. Cam. Anyway, right. So what was it? That was that. And Texas Tanker asked this here. AMC GME. Let's go on AMC first, because the earnings yesterday in it, right? So, and I did tweet this thing that was like, got a lot of stupid nonsense off saying it. It's like, you don't know who I am. Shut up talking shit to me. It's true that this equity unit that's being distributed to shareholders could be presented by somebody who wanted to do so. They could talk about that as a Trojan horse that is designed, and its intentions are nefarious. It is not benign. It's not the gilded ticket that you thought it was. It's in fact a dangerous Trojan horse designed to divide and conquer those shareholders, the shareholders who voted against any further share issues. It might be seen that way by some people. It might also be seen to be an opportunity for people who, it might be seen as an opportunity for people to acquire a greater degree in control of the company without engaging directly with the current offering on the stock market. It's currently equity listing, because those shares that derive then the right to receive the equity unit will get a disproportionate amount of them, because they've got their largest shareholders, right? That's the way democracy works. It's adversarial democracy in boardroom. So if you have more, you win, and the other people have nothing, right? 51% is everything, and 49% is nothing in a vote in the boardroom democracy, right? It's like parliamentary democracy. And so, aside from the freaking CEO, the president, the chairman, all the different politics, and I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about this mechanism of distributing this particular unit and some of the hidden dangers. And I'm not trying to be negative about AMC, right? You're not going to find that here. I don't need to say this, but I've, to my own cost, I've maintained and consistent perspective in AMC when everybody else is being a paper-handed beach. Everybody else. it would be, because my contemporaries and peers on the internet, on YouTube here I'm talking about, right? You're all paper-handed bitches. So, and like, he's all got way more from the algorithm talking about this than I did. So it's like, you shame on you, you are shit. He's all shit. Apart from people who are nice, which I like, and those people identify themselves, so I don't need to say sorry to them. Right, so fuck everyone else. Right, here, what was I talking about? AMC, right? And the 50 simple period moving average. It's not about me, it's about everyone who's invested in this. Try to help you guys, right? And here's the 50 simple period moving above 200 and price action moved to the upside and upward trend. This is a channel, and that's all very good, right? There's downward slope and resistance. It's met that and bounced back down again, and you found some support in around 1676, and then you move back up, test this high 1930. That's all in the hourly time frame. So today, in price action, low 1650, high 1935, huge percentage moves, you know, up 3.67%, but wow, what a move already. Shookers, creepers, why did I not have this on at the time? 15-minute time frame. You had your gap, you opened down towards this 200 period moving average, pushed back up again, and you're coming in for what is commonly known as a failure swing, and I've just talked about this, and you should really be taking the course. If it does move back in, you've got downward slope and trend line there to break. This is also meeting it as divergent, divergence, mismergence. It looks dangerous, right? Dangerous. Now, this is equity unit, so it's going to be distributed. It's going to be distributed democratically and fairly, so that everyone has one share, gets one of these things. Now, of course, if you consider retail trading to be one singular entity, then that's the largest shareholder potentially, but actually it's nebulous globular collection of people with divided and separate interests moving in different directions who've been brought together in a moment of time, and they can be exploited and divided by a sophisticated enemy who offers them something that seems like a gift, and in fact it's poison. And I'm not saying that's what it is, I'm saying other people will describe it as such, and this is why. Because those largest shareholders who have the most of it are incentivized to acquire more of it at rock bottom prices, because that's what it's listed at. He said themselves, it's going on with this par value, and you understand what that means. If you don't, you're not watching enough Rocky Outcrop, because he's explained all of this perfectly well with regards to the GME split in detail in an entertaining way. So why were you not watching it? I know most of you weren't to watch this channel. Those of you do, you're smart. So then we have this issue what I'm talking about, which is what again? Skateboarders are back. Shut up, skateboarders. Right, so God, those punks. Actually, don't mind skateboarders, just now when I'm on the YouTube. So, so they'll have incentivized to acquire more of it. It's cheaper than the AMC shares, of course, and then they'll be able to vote, as the shareholders do, to change that into the equivalent of Class A common stock, in which case it then takes on exactly the same value and the rights as a normal share, at which point you've managed to get loads and loads and loads of shares for cheapos, haven't you? So it does offer opportunities for retail to be exploited, and it is presented as, in my sense, I think it's a poison chalice, but it is what it is, and it's happened, decided, and everybody's excited about it. So here you have continuation divergence. This low, you're obviously going to come back up. Now you're going to start putting in divergence on the top side. Does this mean that you've retraced far enough to go back up and make some difference? Well, this side of the trend, take that as the low. This is high 236, 382, 50% and bounce. There's enough of a reason, having made a 50% retracement, Dow theory. And if you don't know who Dow was, Dow and Jones, right? Two gay lovers, big story, rolling over each other in our bed at the minute as we speak. Rocky's explained all this recently. You really ought to be tuning in there. So you come back up. This looks like a potential failure swing. You've made it into the bullish controls on the 15-minute time frame, so we can't argue that. 30-minute, it may still happen. 1 hour, it may, that looks like it's awful. Divergence evolving there. Caught the center line on the hourly. Caught the 50 and the 2. You know, there's enough of a reason to bounce here, and a positive slope and a positive split. You're not going to argue with that, but, and it's in the bullish control zone. I'm not going to argue with that, and it's the hourly time frame. I'm not just going up the time frames to find something wrong, but where is this divergence on the highs here? In 2 hour, you're already divergent again. Already, see? Oh, dodgy. 4 hour, I mean, that's a big warning sign. We've made it now to the $20 target we talked about. You know, this is the thing. Like, if I should be out here saying like, wow, 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 look how it keeps, wow, amazing, wow. Should be saying all this. Should be like, wow, exclamation mark on the wow, and everything should be, hey, But the $20 target there, and I'm a little bit worried about that, right? The volume hasn't picked up. You would have needed to like, see more of that at the time. Still above average. Not going to complain about that. Like, oh, it has picked up a wee bit there. Can't argue with that, actually. Right, you want to see more of that, obviously. No problem here. Positive cross while you went through the 200. That was, like, really good. Seeing that in the 4 hours, like, excellent. Suppose then you'd be looking across here in this previous high and saying, what about this high at low Tradespotting? What's the 236? It's in at 1345, so that's obviously still important. This trend line going to the top side doesn't completely defeat that horizontal yet. So, and the basis line of the downward sloping channel, which you're still in and have been for ages, isn't yet defeated. So if things do collapse, you'd be looking at that. It's also a 1.13 extension of that previous fib we drew. So, and the 236 retracement from your previous low. Should this be the cut? No, that's going back to the other side, right? That's this previous fib. Okay, that's fine. So it's a 236. You'd be looking at trying to hold 1287. If it collapsed in terrible collapse, 1287 would be the next low. Back above there, you've got a golden cross coming in on the 4 hour time frame with a 50 simple going through the 200 period moving average. And it may well be that that needs tested at 1550. You already got down to 1650, but that's not close enough. So across there with the 50, across the 200, that's going to lead to price action making a retracement. Is it as low as that price? We've already come to the 236 and this will be moving up. Not enough 4 hours left. 5 memberships gifted from the shadow of Lipton, you lucky folks. Brilliant. I was looking at that earlier, like, could I do it? And it was wanted me first to join my own channel. I was like, well, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? Dome. Volcala, welcome. Theo Minimalist, legend. Kelly Burris, welcome. Death of a Banana Freeze, brilliant. Sean J, brilliant. Crohn's Kid, yo. Legends. Legends, all of you. Thanks for being here and interacting so much that you were able to get that membership. In fact, very much for King Lepton giving it out. That's really appreciated. You get access now, all those things I was talking about earlier on Patreon and the members thing there. As long as that membership gift persists, so hopefully consider, you know, if we get value from it, pay it forward to somebody else. Maybe they will too, and then overall grow as a community. It'd be brilliant, because YouTube algorithm ain't helping anybody, that's for sure. Right, unless I start going all... Anyway, right, it's not helping. So, actually, this is funny, right? I finished yesterday's stream and it had over 800 views, right? And then half an hour later, I was looking at the stats thing. I was looking to change something about the video. And I looked at it and it said it had 790 whatever views. And I was like, that's weird. It was definitely more previously. And then I went to talk to Rocky about it, got off, checked it again. It was even less. And then I posted on it about Twitter, went back and checked it. It had gone down by like another 19 after I'd posted on Twitter. It's gone down and down and down and down and down. I was like, this is fucking bollocks, man. What's going on? Like, this is really, really crap. You know, there's people out there complaining about how YouTube gives preference to celebrities to join the platform and how it's changed from subscription to recommendation based, right? So actually, like, good piece of advice right now is if you ever log on to YouTube, click on your subscription tab instead of the home button, and you'll get what you actually want from YouTube as opposed to what they want to give you. So that's just your general YouTubery advice for you. But it was so ridiculous. Like, why were they doing that? It felt really, really ridiculous. And then I tweeted at them, like, here, that's not cool. And they said, sent me a link, right? At the time, I was like, oh, thanks. YouTube got back to me. I looked at the link, and the only possible reason it could have been was because people had multiple tabs open, but they were talking about it didn't happen like there and then, right? It was just after this live stream that went on for hours, right? At finished, they were like, we'll take down the chunk, and then we'll take it down another chunk. And then it kept happening. And it's like, there's not people out there who are like, you know, to the point they had hundreds and hundreds of extra tabs open, and that, I mean, who are you kidding, YouTube, right? And that's so unfair. So there's something going on that I don't know anything about, I've got no control over, and it's totally unfair, and it's fake channel YouTube doing it, shan, right? So, you know, please bear with me when I say hit the like button, please hit the like button, please do these things, because it's whatever it is, it's like, stop doing it. It's annoying. Anyway, that's not what anyone's asking about, and I didn't quite do the TA yet, so finish this, right? So AMC, this downward sloping resistance, you're looking for a breakout. There's different ways of doing this, obviously. You know, I've got it as a channel, but if you're looking at it as a wedge, and some people probably will, whereas the previous highs, you would be having to do it like, oh, you can't actually, maybe broadening wedge, maybe. Looking at it on the 4 hour time frame, trying to make it work overall, it is a downward sloping channel. Please pardon the skateboarders, don't want to shout at them every time they're there, 'cause I feel like I don't like people doing that to me. So Anyway, and maybe they're like, you know, get better with the practice and that, and then they can go away somewhere harder. It's really easy out here. What they're doing, it's not even fun. So they'll learn that, I'm sure. Right, that's that. What are we talking about? This channel. I was trying to figure out if there was a wedge that was looking like a channel, but there isn't. It's just a channel, and I'm kidding myself. It's a channel. So there's no way to trade in this breakout from a wedge X to Y and Z if you'll try to encompass all of that price action. So many drawings are probably distracting everybody. Nothing looking like that. Broadening here? No, not really. It's just a upward sloping channel that we've already had on for a while. Golden pocket comes in at 21.20, 21.14 or thereabouts. That's the next target. 4618. Full move from this here. 20.93. Would not be divergent on the 4-hour time frame should it push there compared to any of this. But none of this, like here was in the bullish control zone, but it's not divergent anyway because it's higher and price action is higher. The only place it isn't higher is then back here, but the price action wouldn't be higher than back here either, so it's not divergent, it's just convergent. And this is positive in this leg of the trend, and that's like an inverted head and shoulders and something going on the bottom side of the trend there that I've never been able to investigate because I've only got it visible in the 4-hour where it's too small to actually see, for goodness sake, how to lose your drawing. So there's the, I mean, what is that downward sloping resistance? Where is that? Oh, it's just we drew earlier, yeah, and this is potentially coming in for a failure swing and divergence. It's really divergent on lower time frames, and that doesn't either means it's about to explode, which would take it to, you know, 20, 21, 95 or whatever, and then the next target is, seems to be up at around 28. Yeah, back above this zone, which ends at around 22, 22, and the next target is up around 28. That's daft. Even higher, you know, and that would be looking at, if a GME wasn't moving, you'd be achieving 1-to-1 parity with GME in terms of share price, not market cap, which would be really, really funny considering all the crap ROKU got for saying out on the internet. Oh my goodness, it's so funny. Everyone's so silly. It's so silly. People be silly. It's what they do. People be silly. Yo, VICEY, how's it going? So downward sloping resistance from a channel, which is more obvious on a longer term time frames. You know, obviously speaks to its significance as well. Upward sloping channel at this part of the trend. You've recovered the 200 period moving average. There's a 50 simple above at 24.22. It potentially is looking at that sort of thing. You know, that gives you hope above those other zones. Testing these previous highs on the weekly body close at around that same level of 24.382 at 22.17 on this fib that you've come down to. Tested the lows, put in bullish divergence at these lows, back above the center line on a weekly. You know, whether or not you agree or disagree with the particular forms of the corporate action, which I actually personally don't mind, right? Don't mind, because I know that I can and am perfectly capable of engaging in the market as a trader, and should I feel like my position was vulnerable, would be able to take actions to protect it, and including or notwithstanding acquiring or otherwise these preferred equity units with a capital P, capital E, and a small u, right? It may well be that I find that personally I'm not affected by this, and I'm not speaking to the grander narrative. I'm just talking about why people would say certain things and saying that it's not a terrible problem at the end of the day if ultimately people are incentivized to acquire more, driving velocity and interest, right? And if you're then able to engage with the markets, you can, you know, manage that situation, especially if you're aware of the dynamics that I described at the start here, and then are able to take advantage of it in the possible way to suit you, right? Because that's what this is, right? How you control those things you can control and interface with the market in the best possible way for your own finances, not financial advice. It's about how to trade. And the way to do that is possible either under all circumstances, even if you're a hodler, right? So people go out there and criticize it as a naive strategy. Do you think hedge funds and banks manage their funds? People are very ignorant in that, and they love to critique you. So just ignore them. And yeah, so fannies there, back above center line, weekly time frame. That's good, yeah. And I'm like, I wasn't really talking about them. I was like, that's really what I'll do. You know, I'll be ignoring people who critique me. So there's the 50 simple period moving average of 24, and the golden pocket retracement of 21. There's a zone there, probably more accurate to aim for around 22, and that's if you're talking about a break to the top side. And whether that's happening or not, I'd be a little bit weary, because on all lower term time frames, it looks like you're about to put in a failure swing and divergence and come back down. At that point, you could come all the way back down to something way down here. Well, people have already had a reaction of a significant distance. What's it saying? What's it saying? What's this? Oh, so sugars, right? I'm not catching up with all the things people ask me to do. Anyway, 4 hour cross, it looks like it'll be tested. And that, so what are we saying? 1535, 200 period moving average. That wouldn't be out of the question to come around those levels. Previous oscillation highs within this formation in at around 1832. You already broke below that one. You came back and got to around 1612 at this previous one, but not completely. And should you break that, then you're back into this leg of the trend. And I wouldn't be talking about highs. I'd be talking about previous lows, 1383. And then, you know, that would be the first one to look to, especially if you were going beyond this cross and then reacting back to it again, you know, because the cross itself looks inevitable at this stage. Price action finding itself below it would then lead to a death cross, which again would need a test. So in advance of that, I wouldn't see this thing falling much below 13 medium term. If it does move down into the top side, you know, you've already put in a touch of divergence in lower term time frame, so you would see a bit of flux. But if it does move back up again, you're looking at the previous high at 1986, $20 from yesterday sort of levels. You know, Rocky Outcrop, heard of him? And then if it does break, you know, some people will be excited about 34, but 22 to 24 would be the zone to aim to. So that's AMC. And then we're going to look at the GMEs, which is probably why most of the people are here. Let's be honest. You know, you don't really love me at all, do you? Drawings back on, downward sloping formation, 4 hour time frames, not all that different from, in this respect, the weekly time frame where you've been in a downward sloping channel. It's persistent since, you know, some people would tell you the 1st of June last summer, other people would suggest it was the 1st January last year, other people would tell you like this formation's been true since March, where you haven't broken that high. All of those would be true. And you know, I think overall that being the general consensus, while it not being incredibly complicated, it does mark a strong improvement in the understanding of the chart that GME is in and the general consensus with price action with regards to the overall community that GME is. And let's face it, I'm a leader in it. While I didn't ask for the job, I told you I'd resign if I was nominated. The truth is, everyone else has been so fucking stupid that I haven't been afforded the opportunity for even a 5-minute holiday. So whether or not I get recognized for the work I'm doing, I don't give a fuck. I already know who I am, and I know the difference I make, and I can see it every day with the general improvement in the overall knowledge of this massive community, of which, like I say, I know I am a leader now. Right, there's the 50 simple period moving average, 36.90. You're pushing above that, 38.15. Positive moves, like we said, consolidating at resistance, moving above the center line in RSI. That is very, very positive on the weekly. Daily time frame, 200 period moving average below you, 50 simple approaching that at speed. And you can see here that you put in a higher high than you've done so far, and you've still continued this downward sloping trend with regards to resistance. That's not brilliant, but you've not been pushed away from it. And like I say, more of that continuation, consolidation at resistance. Yeah, I'm a leader of the Doomslayers, that's for sure. And that we're leaders among men, right? So, and women, right? It doesn't really matter if it's adversarial, whatever it is. 1.68, 47 spot 10, that previous high here. Obviously, that'd be your target if you did break out and break this previous high. You know, you break this high in at around $40, then you're targeting 50, right? It's $50. This is what we're talking about yesterday in GME, that you could make a move to $50. And what would that be the equivalent of? 200, only just mere weeks away that ago. That would have been everyone at $200, which again is such a highly significant area for GME. So very important. Go back to the 5-day, well, fuck it. Go back to the weekly time frame, 200 period, $200, right? Where is that again? 50. It's been such an important inflection point for price action. Here, broke above it, significant, now back to your previous high. Straight towards those areas, an inflection point, support, resistance, breakdown area, back again, support, breakdown area, resistance, breakout area again, resistance, breakdown area again, resistance when you came back up to this previous part of the trend, right? $200, right? It's really important. There's loads of trades there. There's loads of orders sat there. It's a massive zone. It's going to be incredibly significant, meaning if you get there on the first pass, you probably don't break it. But when you do break it, that break gives it added significance. So nothing in between that previous high where you've been to before will make any bit of difference to anyone who gives any brain a cell in their head, and it'll go to 63, which is the equivalent of $240. Stop it, Wheel. We've had this discussion. Yeah. That's what I thought. What was that? T Jabberwocky, $12. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Yo. Fucking legend. What were we talking about? Oh, GME. Aye, GME. And this was for Texas Tanker. Yo. And then before Brew, Global Warming Solutions. And Jen asked about RYCEY, which is popular. So we're going to look at that for show. And Ace, $20. Say hello. Thanks. Yay. Yay. Right. Brilliant. We're having a great show. Anyway, so why I keep talking about people that are idiots? I don't know. Why do YouTube keep doing stupid things? I don't know, right? It's a mystery. Like mankind, itself a mystery, right? Why is that? Because it's made up of two words, mank and eind. And what do they mean? No one knows. It's a mystery. That's why everything else is so complicated, right? We're building from that. Redbix. Let's try and remember to stick some Redbix in there. Yo. Right, so what were we doing? 37.96. Like, this is what we were saying yesterday. 38.90 was good levels to stay above. And meantime, this, right. Oh, yeah. Okay, right, yeah, back on track. Right, 1618 extension. What's that? Was again, that same levels, 46. Well, whatever. Down to the daily. Overall, that's very positive. RSI above the center line, above both the important moving averages, a positive slope on them. If the 50 simple is above the 200 period moving average and you had a positive slope on the 200, then you'd have everything you wanted just from looking at this, because you've also got a higher high. At this point, you've not managed to exceed that, though you do have come with, you do most recently have a higher low, and as such, you know, there's everything you need to know to get back to continue that trend, which would be a higher high, which would be what you'd expect, right? Because as a trader, you're just anticipating continuation, because you have to start somewhere. Jesus, I know there's famines and war and stuff, but could you speed up stream elements as a priority? Did it take a while, did it? The stream elements is it's nice. I like this, but you're right, it does take, sometimes it takes its own time. See, there's some soul in there. Anywho, right, it's very, very difficult to explain. I try, but it would make my own brain explode. So I fear what it would do for some of the people watching along, JJ. Right, so this is 50 simple approaching the 200. That likely involves a test, but you've just come from below it, and this is close enough to consider it a test. Daily, another one. Yo, guitar. Yo, fuck, $50. Really enjoying new morning routines, 5 for 5, and moving stocks further in a profit. Yes, good work. And $50. Wow. Hey, wow. Awesome, amazing. A number of people recently have got promotions and new jobs and whatnot, and told their boss to go sack it, and then got other jobs. And shout out to you guys, right? Power to you. Power to you. Thanks so much. Anyway, guitar outside, $50. Cheers, buddy. That's really appreciated. Right, so what were we doing here? We were on GME. We'd made it down to the daily, so we turned off the drawing so that we could make basic points. Yeah, general points, pardon me. Back above the center line there, back above the 200 period moving average. Great, 50 simples approaching it. You're not so far away that the test would kill you. No problems. AMC's at 20-ish already. Nice. Right, so this 50 simple going through here. Test looks I was actually at right on tiny time frames. I was going to ruin all the other TA, and everyone was like, no, I was excited. Tradespotting. Yeah, very close there. High of the day, 1980 still experiencing divergence, yo. So that's not changed yet. Easily could change, but it's not happened anyway. You're not going to see anything. 15-minute time frame, 8 divergence, failure swing, very potential. If we go through the center line here, that's really, really, really bad. You already had one potential touch of it, though. This was like a confluent with that high, and the wick was higher. So, whereas now you've definitely got it. So, arc, and on the 30-minute, it looks even worse, right? It looks brutal, and then on the hourly, you're in the bullish control zone, so it might not end. It might not end. Come on. Anyway, I mean, like, I do think it's going down, but I'd like it to go up. Generally, that's what I'm with anything that I'm saying is going down, unless I'm shorting it, in which case, you know, I don't want it going up at all. So, yes, anyway, why am I talking crap? Flo Kala asked, does Jamie give recommendations on underwater positions? Do I need to need a super chat? I've never super chat before. No, you don't need to, not at all. And of course, I'll try. I don't give you financial advice, but I can tell you what I might do if I was in a position similar to yours. So yeah, go ahead and ask for sure, right? Although it is very difficult because answer it properly because I don't know your own risk profile, I don't know your own trading history, don't know your how you'll like react to all these dynamic events taking place, don't know your psychology or what you like as a person, how resilient you are, what your long-term goals are, and obviously don't know what all your other trades are, your overall portfolio. So it would be foolish of me to consider any of it I say financial advice, though I could tell you what I would do in the situation as I understand it from those parameters that you give me. Pretty sure that Jamie did a vid on handling underwater positions, not to know I did do, true. Depending on the instrument, it could be quite useful. And the chart, maybe it'll help you and it can direct you there. But I don't know what it was called, but yeah, how to handle underwater positions. Probably, something like that. I'm quite good with names. Making them, remembering them, not the same. Good with faces though, yeah. Not the names though. I can't eat a name, you see. Let me go find it. Thanks. If it's findable. Now, send you on a wild goose chase. It's not a goose, it's a duck with a hat on. Hey, yo, so what we're looking at here, right? This oscillation higher, this not pleasant to worry about there. 1 hour time frame. Why did we get there from? Where's not a 4 hour? Should have been a 4 hour after the daily. Did we not look at this already? Push back into this bullish control zone, turn around, catch the bottom side of it, go on again. That'd be great to see. You know, technically, if I haven't pushed back above the center line, pushed into this area here, well, I wouldn't move these control zones at the minute. That's still fine as it is. You hold the center line again, which might happen with like catching this trend line. So I see I've already got some approximation of it on different time frames, likely. That's the annoying thing about it. I guess if I'm going to go and make this visible on the RSI on this time frame and this, you know, there's people that, anyway. Shout out TradingView. Can hardly give them a hard time. Done a good job. Yeah, so I've already done the draw on that line. That's why I'm deleting lines. We've got too many of them. So, you know, something like that. That's not actually really valid, is it? You know, it isn't. Even though you've got an inverted head and shoulders reason to turn around, you could practically just go with it, right? To be honest, you could just go with it. 2 hours look awful. Yeah, it did. Broke that and it came in joint lower there. So, again, continuation divergence at that stage. Cause price action nowhere near as low. Gap though. There's the gap here. Oh yeah, right. Well, I mean, you're at resistance and there's a gap below. That's dead annoying, right? And then all the positivity about these moving averages and how where price is in relation to them and all, that's just then not as good, right? Because you're going to be then undoing all of that, or at least it mean they can stay in their current orientation, but you're going to be going lower than all of it, right? And it's just like, well, you know, you better bloody recover quickly or else we did all of that for nothing because it's going to be resistance above us again. And it's not. And the 50 simple was below the 200 on important time frames. Or was it? Or the 200 was below the 50 there. That's good. It was the daily. Yeah, here. So you don't want to drop below 33. But you will to fill that gap, which would come at a rejection of this level. If you don't get rejected, you're going to 50. So you come down and that gap actually is filled around 29. This is why yesterday's video was so very valuable. Well, people wanted to put an understanding on it in advance and try and critique me based on a misunderstanding of previous videos. And like, that's no surprise. They do that all the time. Like, they do it all the time. And it's because they're shit at trading. And they think, oh, he said this, so like, hey. So now today he's saying this, and they're not exactly the same thing. So and it's like, well, it's not why you're shit at trading, mate. You're shit at trading because you're stupid looking. Stupid looking. That's why you're so shit at trading. Stupid looking. And as a process, what happens is everyone who's looked at you is thought, oh, he's stupid looking, and you've internalized that and felt stupid in ways that are abstract and you don't understand. Now it's like manifesting it now, and you're punishing yourself psychologically. Your inner self has been like, hey, you're so shit, I'm going to make you know you're shit, and it's making you trade shit so that you know it. So every time you take a bad trade, it's you telling yourself how shit you are, right? It's got nothing to do with me, you're just shit, right? Pardon me. So downward sloping resistance there, that's what people are like. Hey, I was speaking ironically there, like doing an impression of what's, that's what happens, you know. And this is me on YouTube doing impressions on the comedy show. Whoa, it's entertainment category, so you get that. Hit the like button. So 200 period moving average, 50 simple approaching it. Yeah, and you live in the 21st century, get over yourself. There's this $40 target above. Yeah, great. You don't break down, you go to 29. You probably are doing, aren't you? That'd be hard to deal with. Even though I was too stupid to listen about the drop from 250, 290, Jamie and Rocky are the reason I'm in profit. Not underwater. But there's a lot of other people that are like, Tradespotting's an idiot. You'll notice that that's why it sounds like idiot. It's because they're underwater. That's what it is. Are you not entertained? Yeah, you're dead entertained, mate. You are, yes. Let's see. So Flowcala asked a question up about side chat. Flowcala did ask, Tradespotting, sir, I write to you hat in hand. You big idiot. Made too many mistakes to cover. Okay, well, so did everybody. Don't worry about it. I have underwater SPY puts for October. Okay, well, you're probably fine. In November, 395, you're probably fine. And 400 strikes, you're probably fine. Should I cut and eat a loss? I have money to roll forward. Oh, you have to roll. Oh, you have the dollars to roll them forward. Well, they're October and November. October and November. Diddle pam 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 pam. So, you know, you're looking at that. You can afford to look at the weekly time frame. You know, you can afford to look at the weekly time frame. Sure, right? 430. You'd be well pissed off that you know. Well, I mean, what are they at the minute? What's the value of them at the minute? Are they causing you more and more pain the further and further out the money they go? Is that the trade setup you've got, or is it currently worthless and you've lost the money? But your question is, should I cut and eat the loss, right? So you've already clearly is already in a loss, and then you're going further in a loss if it goes worse, right? That's your setup. Okay, so you just got to put some SPY, right? Dangerous trade there. I have put it into that because it could go 50 billion trillion, in which case you'd lose everything there. But if it does go up to target above 430, it doesn't look like it's going there, right? If it did, it would be a continuation of a summer rally that took you there. And in advance of it, I would highly anticipate like a potential move back down again. That's why I'm focusing so heavily on the volatility indicators, because it's not obviously coming on SPY. So when it does come on SPY, it'll be a surprise and it'll happen fast and it'll be violent, and you'll get an even bigger potential return trade in the volatility indicator than SPY itself. Because, you know, depending on the one you're using, it might not be using the Black-Scholes model. You might not have time decay as part of the thing. It might be there's other ways of looking at it, right? Especially if you're trading a VIX contract, which is like a combination of futures contracts, and those expiry are like, you know, depending on the one you're looking at. That so the timing of entry will be important, but with regards to time decay on the particular trade you're looking at, you know, it's like a different consideration between instruments and whatnot. Anyway, I'm not answering your question properly there. Which was it? What was the question? 395 and 400, right? So a weekly time frame, we just turn off the drawings on SPY and show you this downward sloping trend. Don't need to draw the lines in. You can see that there's some sort of a broadening formation here. Means, so we have a long look at SPY. People would probably like that. But how long have I been on for already? Got over 100 likes. That's nice. Thanks, people. 105 people watching right now. That's above average. So I'll try. Yeah, I'll try and do something on SPY then. Right. And new chart. Gonna give me shit colors. I hate it when it does this. Oh, it didn't. Nice one. Rightio. And what will we go with here? Volume. Wow, that's really interesting. Thanks. Right, so you've not had the same volume you had back here. You've been in an uptrend, update. You've come back down, head and shoulders. You've done the full measured move from your head and shoulders. We'll just start drawing things in, shall we? You know, well, that was a bit crap. If I'm going to draw it, I might as well try. You know, if this is like, I suspect, you know, well, I mean, I know it's true that I'm Tradespotting, and like it's obvious now that I'm the overdose from the East Coast, and nobody can handle me, especially when I'm going fast. And then if I'm like a representation of what is now this electronic world and flying in your eyes and ears and every other sense while entertaining you, some of the information is not going to be immediately obvious. You know, it'll only be upon inspection you'll notice the value and the pattern insight, the pattern recognition before it even evolved, and the frequency of it and the velocity of the environment it was happening in. It's only after you're going to notice it and see it as art, and it's only at that point it'll become so, right? So anyway, you know, unfortunately, I can't make it without you, which some of you I'd love to be able to. You fannies. Anyway, here's this. Right, it's a head and shoulders. Right, you can draw it all sorts of ways. I can move these all over. Like, is it under this one? Is it under this one? Right? Is it under this one? Is it under this one? Is it under this one? Oh, look, it's under that one. Is it under this one? Is it under that one? Right? Which one's it under? Is it under this one? Oh, it's under that one. Is it this one? Where is it? Is it this one? Look, oh, it's that one. That was that again. It was that one. Oh, which one is it though? Is it actually that one or is it this one? Hey, look, it's not this one. Oh, you thought it was that one, but it isn't. Anyway, what am I doing? Right, bing bong. That's a head and shoulders, and you've got a measured move out of that. and you've got a neckline out of that thing, and you know it's approximately somewhere around there, in which case the breakdown would be somewhere around there, in which case it's not actually done the fullness of it, but it's done like a large degree of it, which is pretty nice. You've also got a broadening wedge and price action rolling over on the right hand side of this head and shoulders. And also, as all of that's happening, you've got an ABCD breakdown here. Dying, right? As you can see, this whole situation, right? This old chestnut, right? Yo, there you were, buddy. I knew you were in there somewhere, right? Anyway, you're confident with this previous high. And so this is your C. And that was where the cup had the little, you know, sneaky in there. Wasn't that sneaky? Did you know that? Oh, could have got me, eh? Oh, you well had me, right? Oh, you feel me? Anyway, right, so ABCD breakdown is a symmetrical sort of pattern, right? There's different ways of looking at it. This was the ABCD. You were then looking at getting, because it's quite violent, a potential extra trace down there. We did have that, and this may be then all she wrote for the lows. And oh, the world economy is saved. And the truth is, right, if we have a warm winter, the economy will be saved, because Putin will stop putting up prices because he won't have a Putin choice about it anymore, and nobody will want his shit. And then nobody wants his shit as it is. And then, you know, Europe will stop shitting the bed. Oh my God, stop shitting the bed, Europe. It's so embarrassing and cringe, you know, it's still embarrassing, stop it. And then, you know, if that all happens, great, right? Because America might not even go into a technical recession in some ways, right? You know, they changed the definition as well, so that helps. But they might not even go into one. And, you know, we could get right out of this problem, couldn't we? And the world could be saved and everything's fantastic. And isn't that stupid idea, right? Because like I said, secondary inflation is just coming around the corner and nobody knows anything. It's really embarrassing, right? So here we are, right? Come back, test this previous high. That was your target, you know, when you got a reaction here. This ABCD second break, right? The first breakdown from the ABCD, go back to the top side, and all you're really going to do is put in a bit of a meek move. You're looking for a reaction and then a reversal potentially after a lower low, or at least a violent move back down to test that D again. That's so very commonly what happens, and you can look at harmonics and other things, but this is just basic ABCD breakdowns. And then here you're looking at this sort of area, right? You know, you could have got other potential harmonics evolving out of this, but we haven't done. This is what we've got so far. It went back up. You had a gap after that. Yo, thank you very much. Appreciated. What does this say? King of Hearts, aka Sapo, great to see you, buddy. Hey, I stand post at a bank, so I can't always comment. Hello. How's it going in there? But I always listen. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Glad. Hope you understand me. We love you, Jamie. Thanks very much, buddy. Diamond hand hype aside, your passion is unmatched anywhere. Stay golden, mate. Much love. An ape named Sapo. Thanks, Sapo. It's really appreciated. Thanks. Genuine message. I see that and feel it. Thanks. Right, so on this move, that's really appreciated, Jen. I was generous of you to put through super chat. Thanks, mate. Glad to get these things faxed and keep them forever. Right, so price action, closed that gap, continued to the top side. At this stage, you would be surprised if it broke its previous high, and it hasn't yet done so. Right, what is that? Like the top side of it, potentially in around 416 change, hasn't yet done so. Maybe you'd be looking at 886. Maybe you'd be looking at a 1.13 extension. I would be really surprised to see anything more than that at this stage, though we can look at where it would be. Golden pocket retracement was your first area. 886, you exceeded that and you did push to your previous high, but not a 1.13. So Fibonacci levels, we'll take them on the right hand side and just measure this leg of price action and then put it in a greater context. But if we say here, you know, your 1.13, if it did move up, there's the first place you'd be looking to, and at around 422. I mean, not the first place, but the first place we've identified on this sequence of our technical analysis. And if it did break back down again, then you'd also be able to take a Fibonacci here and say, you know, this is now very speculative because this price has not stopped and nor has it retraced a significant degree to give validity to this Fibonacci sequence. And you measure from the low to the high and you follow the trend. That's why it's low to the high. If it was a downtrend, you'd be from the high to the low, and you always go from left to right following that trend. So you can't really get it wrong if you do that. You measure your Fibonacci's from the left to the right. Okay, so this is where the first one goes, and then on the left, and the next one will go, the next where you drop it, anchor point will be on the right. And then you'll always be following the trend, and you'll always have your Fibonacci's in the right direction. Right? It's a top trip that Rocky and I developed in helping people who were drawing their Fibonacci's wrong and don't understand how they work. But, you know, I know that they would just don't need to. And if they just drew them properly, they'd be fine. And that's dead easy, right? Just draw them properly. You follow it, go left to right. And Rocky and I were like, yeah, sweet. This is the advice to help people. Anyway, so that's it if you're trying to get that part of Fibonacci's drawing. Anywho, so it's very speculative because, like I say, you've not gone back beyond a 236 and therefore it's not yet valid. If you were looking for that to happen, it would become valid if this was your current high and prices didn't exceed it, then move back below 402, at which point you'd have exceeded 236. This Fibonacci would be valid, and you could then say this has been a local high, compare it to this previous high, and you can look at your oscillators and indicators to determine what the think of the strength of this move was and where inflection points will come on that if you go backwards or in advance, like should you go at the top side, what you've seen previously. So I hope you're following along here. I know we're going into this sort of thing maybe a little bit in depth, but this is like a good take on SPY for people that are interested in it anyway. So we talked about this as a broadened formation various ways. If it does break above this 423, we would have to do it quickly without being arrested by this downward sloping diagonal. Boom. Come on, Dash, you buddy, do you mind looking at ROKU? Yeah, you betcha, I'll look at ROKU, no problem. Too. If you want me to, yes, no problem, right, will do. And so, oh, sugar, did we cover everything everyone asked me to do first? GME, AMC, yes. Just split these up into requests and people being nice. Not that it isn't the same thing, but you know. Yo, cheers, Sapo. Brew, Lee, shit, I didn't do you, Brew. Get to you in 2 seconds. And did yourself, Texas Tanker, cheers. And I've got these one, that ROKU to do after. Right, sorry, Brew. Right, downward sloping resistance. If you're looking at this on the weekly time frame, you might think that diagonal comes in around these sort of zones, and you would say that horizontal is quite clear at 416 at the top side. So you break above that, you'd be looking at this as the next extension on your Fibonacci, which you've defined in around 422. And if all of these things met each other together, which they could tempt, you know, it would be convenient, wouldn't it, if you could get 3 for 1? And so a test of that all at the same time would involve price action pushing towards 422 in around the 22nd of August. And that would be like a small, not dramatic continuation of a current bullish move that may be indicative of a summer rally, which is what we were speculating at about for a while since back down here. And now I'm not trying whatever, right? I mean, whatever, right? You weren't there, so it's not relevant to you. You're here now. And what's happening, right? Well, you've kind of reached an awful lot of the targets along the way, and the risk profile, should you have been looking at it from going long, you know, which is helpful to understand even if you aren't, is this changes significantly when you reach these levels, right? This low is subsequent to these highs, and the next move back being in around these levels, even achieving that significant, expecting more than that is a bit much. It could go there, but you would be looking for reactions at that point in time. And so far on this time frame, you know, that's not technically a doji, too much of a body on it, but depending on how the next week evolves, it might not necessarily be positive. You have had 3 positive candles in a row. These the previous 2 opened with the body open above the previous close. This didn't happen this stage. Weekly time frame with these indicators. Let's also add on now the Bollinger Bands weekly time frame. Thanks. Shadow Watcher. Yo, 1111. Cheers. Appreciate everything you do, True Legend. GOVV analysis at GOEV. You frickin' betcha. You're welcome. Thanks very much. Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thanks. But this over here. This over here. Like this. Yes, thank you very much. Give me 2 minutes. Got to get through a couple of things and then sort of got into this SPY thing. Now, I really would like to at least tie it up with some usefulness rather than dumping it halfway through, you know. So you've come back, tested this previous high. That's interesting. Speculative is 236. So 402 to the downside. If you did move down area to look to previous high 416, you've not quite made it. That's the area to go to. Exceed that, you've got your 1.13. It's up at $22-23. You get back above these levels, you'll also be exceeding this downward sloping resistance. At that point, you'd think the trend had dramatically changed. You have made it back above the basis line of the Bollinger Bands, and having come from a low, and you know, we can test this and look at it on the oscillators, but there was bullish indications around these periods. that you could go back up again. You might have been anticipating finding it at resistance. Resistance could be any of these levels. We'll find out more about it in a minute. The basis line of the Bollinger Band could easily have been one. You're now opening and potentially closing. You've only got that little bit while left here above the basis line of the Bollinger Bands, and itself in comparison to the previous candle isn't dramatically bullish, so there's not necessarily any guarantees about it, but there would be a lot of people anticipating continuation now to the top side. It's just where that top side comes in at is very proximate to where you currently are, so the risk of going long from here is quite high. The reward is quite low. You know, the risk being where you could come back to very significant levels, even 236 at 402, you know, it's considerably further away from the first target to the top side at 416. So, you know, the incentive to trade long from here isn't in the technicals itself. It may well be in the liquidity or the order book. And, you know, right, live and let die, you know, there. So do you want to go long from here? You'd have to be crazy, right? If you're currently short, what are you thinking? How do you manage a position that's currently shit, right? Let's be honest. And I don't mean to embarrass you, right? But so you're looking at this and you're desperate for price action to come back down again so that you can get out of those positions, as opposed to using them as a cover to your current longs, and like it's a protection, in which case you wouldn't mind, right? You're hedged, so don't mind if it goes up, but you're exposed, especially if this particular instrument is just one exposed trade, then that's pretty nasty. So, I mean, the sensible advice, not that this is advice, is yeah, just eat the loss, who cares, right? It's like one opportunity, it didn't work, fuck it, you know, if you tune in here every day, you'll get over it in 5 fucking minutes, I promise you, it's no big deal. On the other hand, you know, that's not necessarily a good way to manage your trades, and you should make the most of every possible opportunity. I can tell you there's a lot of people today opening shorts on SPY, an awful lot of them. I'd suggest that a better strategy might to be opening longs on one of these indices that are either somehow exploit the opportunity available in VIX and VIX trades. That might be something that's more suitable because it provides you with the opportunity, should price action go 430, to still not be trapped in a bad trade and maybe even make some money. But there are a lot of people looking at this and thinking it's a degree of bearishness. The volume has not been picking up, so the trend isn't likely to be, you know, I mean, it's just continuation of the trend at the minute. You know, you're above your own moving average, so nothing dramatic happening there, and that belies what's going on in price action. You know, it says, like, you know, sure, we believe you, not. So, you know, when you're at that previous high, this is the area where people will be managing their risk to the top side and taking profit, as well as people opening short. So you're going to need very positive move and news to go on, because anything above these levels suggests what? Topside Bollinger Band 1618 extension coming back up above this broadening wedge. That's not how broadening wedges would typically work out. If they were a successful trade from a broadening wedge, Bulkowski's method would suggest you come back and test the basis line within that broadening wedge before you break to the top side. So, and this doesn't even, you know, it's not really giving you. For a start, you'd have to get back up to 422, so there's that, and then you'd have to get rejected and come back down to the basis line of it, which may be, you know, at this stage, you're, you know, now I'm doing, there's no point in doing this, but if you did, right, then your 236 would be 408. You'd probably come back and test in around this 50%. It wouldn't necessarily be the broadening wedge basis line, but it would be the mid-level between the recent low and high. So, you know, you'd be looking for a test of 390, even if you went to 422. And your expiry is in September, October, November, you said, right? That's the end of the summer. By that stage, Jerome's going to be back out of the closet, right? Andrew's beckoning him out at the minute. Coo, come out, come out of the closet, come out. Right, Andrew Bailey's doing that outside Jerome's door right now, and Jerome can't resist those dulcet tones. He'll be out there pecking at Andrew's head in a minute. So this is it, right? What? Sorry. So I hope this is helpful, right? I've got to move on to these other things in a minute. So there's your potential retracements on a speculative based on a high that hasn't happened yet, though that is where we'll be aware of it. And this is just looking at these indicators. We've talked about SPY various times in different ways, and so I'm trying to add some value here on this way, this take on it and things. That Fibonacci is not actually real now, so we'll exclude that and look at the 1.13 extension of this. We'll look at the Fibonacci that comes from the A down to your low there, 236, 382. The next target would have been 0.5, 417.66. you know, there's a level you've already approached and got, you know, no further than, and you've not yet tested support 50% retracement. Dow theory, that would be a common retracement area ahead of continuation in the trend. So you could say that there's another reason why people wouldn't be going long from here, and you'd be looking at people opening shorts and people who were previously short and made money opening them again around these levels. So, you know, from now on, you could be on the right side of the trend. You just opened the wrong trade at the wrong, like the right trade at the wrong time, which is like totally understandable. A lot of people made that mistake recently. You know, fundamental analysis suggests that when things are screwed, they're going to get more screwed, and actually that presents technically the best buying opportunity. So it's the charts you want to focus on. That's what will most help you add value to your trading in your life. And it's not me that's advocating for this in any particular way. I don't benefit from your own philosophies. It's just, this is what helps me. So that's my advice, really, and there's nothing financial about that. So, you know, Bollinger Bands and top side of this and 455 and get out of town, right? This thing's starting to contract, right? They're going to start contracting quite a lot. They themselves, the Bollinger Bands, are constructed from, you know, standard deviations from a central moving average, this being a 20 period, and the look back period on that, defining the range that then is manifest in that standard deviation. As you can see, right, making above the basis line, you might suggest trying the top side, but you touched once, gone back up to the basis line, pushed above it, failed at this trend line, come back down, test the bottom, come up to the basis line, failed, come back down, lower low, come back up at the basis line. This was positive, like that you've got back to your previous high here. This one you didn't, though you pushed above the 50, like, no, sorry, 50, pushed above the basis line here as like on this second oscillation back to the top side, having come back down and pushed outside of the Bollinger Bands, right? Your reaction was so strong you went back above the basis line, but you never got back to the top lights. And looking left, you only managed to make it back to the previous highs within this formation, right? That you'd technically broken out of that, which had been created at the time. You come back to the prior high within the previous formation. Subsequently, you've dropped back down, come back up, not managed to do anything on this level. You've got pushed back out of the Bollinger Bands again. You've had a reaction again, took you back above the basis line. Only so far, like you've gone back above basis line and to the previous high within the prior formation, as it was back here, and no more yet. And plenty of reasons why it would never get further. And if it did, those are quite restricted moves. And you're already in a terrible trade. So the question is, how do you want to handle it? You know, a lot of people would say it's good advice to just ditch it anyway and then open a short if it gets there. A lot of people wouldn't be having the appetite for that, having already just experienced what you have. I understand all of that. I don't have any particular advice that I can definitely give you, other than if I was in your position right now, I'd likely be managing this position by trading completely other things and that actually, and then trying to mitigate anything I'd messed up here on other things. That's the best. But then if I'm not able to do that, and I can't sit here and spend 4 hours talking about things specifically one person, then I'd be looking at you know, probably you might actually be all right with that trade. Like, it's crazy to say that on the internet. Somebody, you might actually be all right. Those trades might not be terrible. And if you are worried about it, then you could take long-term calls on SPY for, you know, long-dated calls and whatnot, and then cover that position until such times as, you know, if it was going in your direction, right? Like if you were recovering those previously performing positions, then your long dated SPY calls might not be as critical time problems for you. And should it go the other way, then at least you've got some mitigation there. Though, like I say, long term, and you're not going to get as violent a reaction. So you might, you know, in terms of covering your entire position, it might not be possible. In which case, you might want to look at other instruments, which is why I trade other things to manage it best. But the truth is, yeah, we looked at BBY as soon as I opened their Lipton, first 10 minutes. So this previous high, yeah. So the advice is you might get out of it, all right. Like you might get out of it, and obviously you're reticent to close it and eat the loss. That's why you're asking the question. You know, a lot of people, sort of personalities, just do it. You know, they've just done it and it's happened. Though if it's not your style, don't go after that, right? Don't try to be somebody you aren't. It won't help your trading account. So I assume BBY stopped out. Cool, I'll give that a look. Well, we'll have a look. I'll briefly talk about it on the way now onto those other things people asked about. I hope this is useful, people. It has had 791 long. Oh, it's back up at 28.94. That's good on the lower term time frames. Is it? Can't remember actually. Yeah, 30 minutes here. Oh, it's not actually back above its previous highs. We've not got any of our indicators on. We'll just go back here. That was a really positive move in the weekly time frame. For God's sake, 15 minutes. Right, yeah, here. So we came into these lows. Did have a touch there. Bottom of the bullish control zone. Come back up again. Not managed to be staggeringly fantastic yet. It looks like it's topping out. The volume has already petered out back below your moving average and back into normal terms. If this does break down, like volume pick up again at that stage, come back down, test the 50 simple at 656. 15-minute, 30-minute time frame. As you can see, there's the gap. That's not closed till 617. Top side of it is 653 in the bullish control zone, so you can't trade from it here on 30 minutes. You're not getting any symbol, selling signal this far above the 200 period moving average on the 30-minute. 1 hour time frame, you've got a cross. That's not been tested yet. Price action did recover above a 200 period moving average around those levels, so, and that is the low of 2 formations previously, so that's also a target 534. 200 period moving average still below there. 1 hour time frame, also this looks like that's continuation divergence here, not a reversal divergence there, like lower high in RSI, higher high in price action. And this is reversal divergence, likely comes back down again then. You know, either it's breaking out hugely and it's going up to those upper targets, and we did a really good job on BBY earlier, so I'm not going to go up to the higher time frame as well. Stay on the low ones, and I'll say looks potentially bad. You know, 1 minute time frame, despite all this volume, I don't trust that. That's a doji candle with this volume, probably changing position. This looks bad. 777, that breaks, that's bad. 766, that's bad. It's been there recently though, so it's not all that credible. 722 is the point to look to. You break 722, you'll come down to 654, and then you've got a gap there at fill. You probably bounce just before it, and then what's going to happen? We'll have moving averages and whatnot crossing, so a small bounce back up again is very possible. That high there at 655, this breakout zone 50 simples there, right? So go back to the start of the video, check that out. Like, there's information there, and it's going to probably trick lots of people in the meantime. So it's good information. Check it out. And then what else we were going to look? Bruley, yes. GWSO. So I was thinking about doing this for the 5 and 5s. Boo, I saw your comment, but then when I got through the ones that people had suggested and looked at the charts, and I thought these are the and you know, I thought those were the ones to go with at the point in time. So what are we looking at here? Weekly time frame, interesting chart, lots of bullish things on it jumping out at me. Overall, is that a massive harmonic? Yeah, and oh, maybe it just exceeded it here, did it? No, you've got to open at that point, so you could probably get away with that. Is this a huge harmonic? It is, isn't it? It's not giving me on that indicator thing. That indicator thing. Is that even an XAB? It is. So, what? What the fuck is this? What's this? What you talking about? 149. What the fucking. Right, so yeah, whatever, right? So price action, this looks like a potential accumulation formation. You've had a move to get 50 simple. I haven't caught support at 200. Okay, no problem. That would look like some sort of a downward sloping wedge. Resistance to the top side more relevant than here, though. You got to your apex, broke up again. Measured move from this thing takes you towards your resistance. Here, 890, 920 something. So far you've made it to the 50 simple, and this prior high 563 and above, 616 up 14.8% today. This is accumulation formation at the top side of the trend, though it most recently experienced bearish from divergence, so may well be a little bit muted, and I would anticipate the RSI catching a trend itself potentially then. Suggests you're going to push back up towards the bullish control zone, which would potentially put in a higher high in price action and then a third touch of divergence on the macro level. So it might well then be an extension from here, 1.13, if above the previous high, comes in at 27 bucks. That's a huge move from here. So that look like that's happening. Well, we've done all of this on the weekly, and we can say actually the most significant artifact on the charts at this level is the fact that you've got shitloads of bearish divergence, and then when you put all of price action into context, you're at your all-time high. So it would be crazy to go long on this thing long term, though you might get a move out of this that's counter to the current posturing of that divergence. It wouldn't be counter the trend that you've been in long term. This is still matching these lows or higher. Looking left, you've got continuation divergence, so you would expect moves back up again. If you don't even get back into the bullish control zone at 65, then you wouldn't be breaking the fibs like within the extremity of this thing. You've already made it towards that. I mean, the golden pocket retracement at 882, if you are moving to the top side, that's the next place that you might be taking profit if you're not taking it at 650, 670. Already breaking the 50 simple, but it doesn't look like the most positive formation in terms of continuation. RSI, open close above the 50 simple is good. Daily time frame, 200 period moving average, open above that is also good. No, your daily indicator is doing something now. What is it you're doing? You don't want to tell me the why. Okay. Oh God, tell me your cipher nonsense. Bye. Right, so 200 period move, 50 simple above this breakout zone now. Downward sloping resistance there, pretty clear. No divergence on this time frame. Holding the 200 would be fantastic. You've done it most recently as you stayed within the bullish control zone. Daily looks all right. I'm not going to argue with that. Positive move on the histogram. It's also not divergent here. Looking left, potentially. This is the prior formation after this one. This is the next target. It's like in around, what's the body closes? 750. Wick highs. Not far away, golden pocket back up around 850. So if it has higher, 750, 850, that looks like a zone. Golden pocket retracement, you would be looking at that. Overall, look, this trend without a retest of that downward sloping previous resistance, now hopefully support, having seen the rank divergence on the higher time frames and knowing that this is at a joint all-time high, then I wouldn't be looking at this to break up to the top side until it's seen some sort of retest at the very least. So, I mean, you know, if it breaks the 200 here, I'd be probably looking at a short. If it goes below 530, goes below 518, and it opens and closes dailies down there, you could trade this thing down to 3, potentially 382. That's tough to get that right in the context of getting all of those closes and not having expressed that range already would be a tough trade, so probably not worth it. You know, you'd be looking at this coming up here, failing at a golden pocket if you're desperate for a short, and then a test of that sort of zone for more chocolate on your biscuit. But overall, ultimately, you'd be looking at this as potentially open for a breakout, and then your trade would be most, you know, profit if it holds support at this previous resistance level, which is this downward sloping trend line here. And like, is that going to happen? I mean, it doesn't seem desperately like it wants to. 4 hour. Shadow Lipton, when GME finally breaks through the resistance, how should we celebrate? Good question, eh? Here's a 50 simple going through the golden pocket. Going through the what? 50 simple going through the 200 period moving average on the 4 hour time frame. Weird mistake. Right, so price action may well test that. You can see at the minute it's divergent. It's fallen out of the bullish control zone, but recovered here at this. Is that the road to nothing? Let's check. Your histogram suggests that that's a little bit dodgy. We'll drop down now. Our volume doesn't agree with this move. 50 simple, we've recovered it back above the center line. Questions about bullish divergence at this stage, but it's in an uptrend, so hard to go with that. ARG looks like it would be divergence if it pushed up. 30-minute time frame, what are you saying? Continuation divergence back down again. 200 period moving average at $4.92. That'd be back below your 530 and so on. 518 target. So, you know, that's the area to trade from. You know, if it breaks below 480 on 1 hour open close, you might take that down to around 316 and you get an early signal of it, or maybe, right, even though it's a higher time frame on the 4 hour, if it breaks in at around 518, open and closes below there, you might head to test this cross at 413, and in advance of that, you've got a couple of potential trades within that level there. That's what I'm thinking about there, Brew. But do you desperately want to short it? I mean, it's not in the middle of a downtrend, so I don't recommend it, or it's not even started one significantly and it has been potentially breaking out, so I wouldn't recommend shorting it just out of but yeah, I mean, it's a tip, so generally speaking you'd be right to, but no, not on this occasion. We'll just let it do what it does, I guess. Komodo Dosh, $10. ROKU, yes, you betcha. ROKU Inc., NASDAQ, come up, fill that gap, fill a number of gaps, don't leave any on the way. That's the 4 hour weekly time frame, what we're looking at. A lot of bullish divergence here, oh my goodness, and then there's a cross with the 50 simple going through the 200, oh my goodness. That's up at 171. It's currently 83. That speaks to over 100% price rise. Jamie, the bastards of Morgan Stanley are doing IT again. Oh, no, it again. No, it. They're doing it again. Just call my broker in the Netherlands why I can't buy AMTD anymore. I can only sell. Oh, right. Just keep doing this stuff. Which broker is your broker in the Netherlands? Maybe they're just incompetent. Not that that's inherently the Dutch thing, quite the opposite. But I'm not falling out with the Dutch, right? I've only just made things up with the French. Vis-a-vis, does a dollar leveling up more than that? More than that! Yeah, that's so bad! What am I talking about? This ticker, right? Bullish divergence outside the bearish control zone. Bullish engulfing on body terms. Not on the wick though, yo! Wicka slim. Wiki Wilkes. There's this move back above the histogram. Back above the center line on Instagram. Brain. Bullish divergence. Weekly time frame. 5-day there actually. I'm not on the weekly, but it's the same story. Death cross. Dave cross. Wow, that was pretty brutal in the 3-day. Anyway, that's the horizontal level previously. 200 period moving average 240. But the death cross on the weekly time frame coming in at 180. That's 100% up where price action is at the minute. It's a terrible, terrible sign, and it might make price action go up to it. Whoa. Which is kind of what we were looking at in similar terms with BBBY back when it was doing this ahead of its positive moves. You know, so far this has already done it though, from 64 to 83. Sheesh, that's 30%. So, you know, it's already made a move. 2.26% today isn't the point. We're looking at a weekly time frame. There's a daily time frame where you filled your gap, you've met resistance at the 50 simple, and you've met the center line of the RSI and not been doing too grand there. Your continuation divergence on those most recent highs, which pushed you down, and then sure you had a touch of bullish divergence between what? These lows back here, but like you would expect it to push lower, and then you don't have continuation divergence at this stage, so a small knockdown wouldn't be all that dramatic. I wouldn't expect, would it? My eyes itchy now. 20 past 6, right, Tradespotting. Pick it up a level, eh? 50 simple, back above the center line on the 4 hour. That's good to see. Back above your own moving average. That's good to see. You've closed the gap and you don't look bearish. And sure, there was continuation for divergence before, but not so much here. And you're not even in the bullish control zone, really. So I'm not too worried about that. Back above the center line, that'd be good to see. 50 simple still below the 200. And overall, this is like catching a knife, kind of, but it has put in a positive move with a tiny touch of bullish divergence-ish. And then more to look to on the top side. So I suppose we could put 2 hour. What are we seeing? If we got rocky outcrop flashes on this thing, cheat. I'll go cheat, right? I'm going to cheat quickly. Cheating, I am cheating. I actually give it time to see. You know, there might have been one there. Is there? I don't know. Anyway, so well, there's no flashes there. All on the daily, you might be a little bit dodgy now. So would I look at this as potential? Yeah, potential. That's like nasty here, right? Just nasty. Could come back down again then, and the bearish control zone in 30 minutes. But it looks interesting. 50 minutes, not terrible. Hold that 50 simple. It definitely came. Not terrible, that's for sure. Keeps going up here, you know, that's not bad. 5 minutes could go in again, no problem. You'd look for 84, 85, 30, something like that. Anyway, too low time frames to get anything meaningful here. And I was only just cheating on the TA looking for a crop of flashes. No immediately obvious gaps there on these tiny time frames. 30 minute, 200 period moving average resistance. Head and shoulders on the RSI. It's not quite on the price action, but if you did drop below 78 at this stage, I'd probably expect a test of 73, 74. You'd want to hold support of 74. That was long term. Long number of times you had a test of that. 1 hour time frame then. Back above the center line, putting in head and shoulders. Naff, but you're not in like this on the RSI, so rather than price action, which you'd need to find at the top of the trend. Oh, the wheel's doing it again. Dead money! It's now a good time to check on snow macro scale. Oh, good idea, yes. Frick. Ooh. Jesus Christ. Pardon me. Jesus Mary, we sipping a donkey. Right, so, whoa, snow, yeah, in a moment. Darn tootin', right? Hit the like button there, right? I don't want to die for nothing, right? Hit the like button. So back above sell, I put head and shoulders, not too wonderful. ROKU. Weekly looks awesome. Massive chance of something happening. Dead interesting. I'm very excited about this sort of thing. It's below 200 period moving average. 50 simple looking like support. If you go drop down to 74 and bullish divergence, maybe take that there. Might be a good entry. But you're probably fine if such times, if you make it back above the 50 simple in the daily, though it looks like there's like something happening here. Yeah, so 200 period moving average at 150. $150, $180, those are the sort of targets above. In the meantime, because on the weekly time frame you do have this golden cross, the death cross and bullish divergence, which if you pull out of the bearish control zone, which you have done, it might have already started. Daily time frame suggests, cover that 50, you're on for a move to 1. Cover the 50 simple, you're on a move to 150. RSI below the center line is not great though. 4-hour time frame, starting to push above there, getting maybe an early signal. Enough bullish divergence here to suggest that it could start a move. Where does your risk profile change? It depends on how you're willing to manage your risk, depending on what you're going to take profit at. That 50 simple on the 1 hour, that's like 78. That could be an entry. Below 74, you could be out. That's quite a big chunk. 5% on the price. So in which case, maybe, you either don't want it unless you get an entry at 73 and you can put your stop down at 72, and then you could try the same thing around 69 to 67, and the same thing again 62. You could try getting it 3 times, or you could try with a bigger area. You'll have the risk reward overall if you're aiming up that high, is 100% potential profit. So that's what we're thinking, and I hope that's helpful, because now I have to move on. Darn tootin', I'll come back to it possibly, and we'll look at it for a while. For certainly I will do. Come on, just at me and remind me in future. You don't need to do that, and I'll go back to it and see, because I do feel like maybe I could have done some more on it. And now the next one on the list was Shadow Watcher. Appreciate everything you do, True Legend. GOEV. GOEV. Yeah, well, woo, canoe gap. Bottom side of that's at 2.83. It's currently 364. That's a big drop. There's a flash at 336 on the way, so that's some comfort. 200 period moving average at the top side of that gap. You could bounce to that 323. This looks like a short then at this period in time. You've got a head and shoulders on RSI and on price action. Downward sloping resistance here. You've broken out of that, come back, tested it, and then been anemic rise afterwards. 1 hour. Let's see what you're looking like on the weekly time frame. This channel, all right, okay, we've got some idea of what's going on here, have we? We've looked at you before, have we? Right, well, I probably said you could do this more accurately, but whatever, and we'll go with that as it is. Yeah, you've recovered there. No bullish divergence. You've hit the center line and no further. You've hit the basis line, no further. You've had your death cross. Price action tested that, and it went through properly. Lower lows, nothing wrong with it. You've got positive moves on the histogram, but really, that's crap in this context. You've only managed that off the back of it. There was divergence on your histogram. And there has been lots of it since it started falling down, but then it went sideways for 3 years, 2 years and a bit, and then moved to the top side from $10 to 25. Everybody who cared about it began to care more about money and not it at all, and they've never come back. Even down at 178, they weren't really technically back, and then if they were, they got the hell out of it at 5. So that's what we're thinking so far. But that's a lot of volume at that low, right? There's an opportunity here. That's a lot of volume. Anyway, let's see what else is on the other time frames. 5-day, 50 simple, not desperately positive. This isn't bullishly divergent. That recovering so strongly there is unusual. 3-day, resistance, 50 simple, back now. Pushing towards the center line. You've got something to look to there, but nothing desperately amazing. 50 simple resistance, even down at the 2-day. My goodness gracious me. Come on, go away, resistance. Daily, back above it. You filled a flash there, so that was interesting. On the daily time frame, you had this bullishly divergent low, came in at 171. That was your target at your entry, and then your target would have been at 476. That's an amazing trade from ROKU Outcrops. Flash and bullish divergence here. You got, what was it, if you traded it, 169%. Oh my god, and that's just the stock itself, never mind options. And it happened in, how long? Days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, less than a week. So you could have traded in an option expiring this week and got so rich. Just that much, so rich. But you could have just traded the stock and you'd be up doubled your money, right? And more, and then half again. Plus, right, 69. Shoot, like, that's ridiculous. Anyway, you've got gap below, right? You've got a gap below, which should be a retest of this downward sloping support, which was then broken. Resistance, no, never really. It was support, back inside again, support, broke it. Resistance, maybe gapped above, so not technically. Hold it as support now, probably. In around gap below at 284, whereas the body closes 273. That's the first zone to target. In the meantime, it could push back up, feel at the basis line, and then fill that gap. I would anticipate it filling that gap. You know, it's not like it it filled every gap there. Daily, it's done it. That gap filled that well and truly. This gap here filled that, obviously. And then this, obviously. So, yes, I mean, it does fill its gaps. Not like it's for some reason different from everything else. This is an area in future. It's a downward sloping resistance. It suggests it would be an area for buying it, really. You could manage your risk below 231. That's in at around 289. That's 50 cents. That's like 40%. You can't, that's not 40%. That's like 20%. You can't do that. You can't do that. Too much, 25%, too much. So, you know, you're going to be looking at this entry, and then you'd have to also anticipate the gap being filled at the same time. So you'd probably hope that it happened beyond that horizontal that you tested. This diagonal body closes being around 269, right? That's interesting. Why not? It, like, gives you a little bit less, 30 cents off it afterwards, 12% or so on the actual thing. That's still quite a lot. Maybe you want to enter in it around a test of this previous low here, 256. Should you get there, and then limit your loss. We're around 230, 28, something like that. Maybe that would be make it possible. And then the trade at that stage, you might be looking at it come back into this formation, testing important moving averages or a downward sloping basis line. It may well be, but it doesn't look desperately interesting from here is the problem. So we've got some information so far. We didn't draw any fibs yet. Let's take this low in. You got your 236 here. You hold that at 324. Perhaps then, you know, you would test that and break that, you're not even necessarily bullish, right? You might not even necessarily be bullish. Why am I bullish? I'm not sure. The bullish divergence on these time frames here, yeah, the daily. Well, you've already had that move so far, so that's over. And then from this low to this high, that's not accurate, Tradespotting. There you are, 236 comes in 405. You've had a 345 to test today. 371 to high. So you drop below that. It's not yet managed to be tested. Well, I mean, it has actually, but that wasn't real until such time as putting this low. So it's not yet been tested. 382 at 346. That's essentially where you've come in and you've found a low so far. If you go beyond the 50%, then that would be confluent with filling that gap. 236 wouldn't be. 50% retracement here in at 303. Where's the gap finish? Probably that would be the gap, you know, even a golden pocket 262. So, you know, you've broken the 236. Golden pocket retracement gives you a safer trade. If you're looking to go long, the entry would be 265 or 255 and then stop around 228 possibly. Still, that's a huge chunk. It's a huge chunk. So, and you're already downward slope information. Maybe you just want to use that really tight stop loss and use wherever this downward sloping, hopefully support level would be now. So that's what you'd be thinking if you're looking for that. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's not a trading advice, right? It's not financial advice. No. Anyway, there's your high previously, 504. Be your target. You break above 236 and baseline previous high, and then 2 total period moving average at 573. That's quite a big percentage chunk should you get there. Daily time frame saying some things. 4 hour, you can't ignore the gap. 2 period moving average resistance. 50 symbols below it. You're not inherently bullish in that sense. You know, you're below that proxy of the trend there. So. And the 50 symbol and the 2 are there, and in the 1 hour you've got a flash at 336 and it's currently 365. So you're at least going back towards those areas, and any entry above that would be crazy. I really anticipate filling the gap. So, you know, there's that. If you had bullish divergence at that low, you could take it for a small trade, see how it runs, move your stops into profit, trade safe. I hope that's helpful. There. That was Shadow Watcher. And then did we do higher time frames? We did, right? Because we were talking about divergence. Did we not see it on the weekly though? There's something wrong with that, wasn't there? Yeah, it's not on the weekly. So I'm not necessarily expecting this to do crazy bonkers things right now. Kind of makes everything else very muted. AMC is going vert, is it? Let's see, good one. 21, no, it's not going vert. It's just going up to those top side targets so far. But that's great. We like to see it. Golden pocket, 21.14. What's that now? 21.37. It's above that, 14.14. That's good. Let's drop down 15 minutes. Still got these flashes. You're like divergent here. It's not going vertical at all yet, unfortunately. Would love it if it was, Don Quixote. Would love it if it was. But not yet. Though it's good, right? I mean, it's good. I'm sure you are excited. If you own it, you don't need me to make you excited. Here's the 886. You know, it's just downward sloping trend line. That's like a bit rich. Was it not on that time frame? Where was it? That one. Where was that? Well, it's definitely not putting in that swale swing on the 30 minutes. You recovered the bullish control zone on the hourly time frame. That's very good. And you have managed to go as a positive reaction from this 50 simple. Good enough, right? Good enough. Obviously, you're divergent right now. Ugh. So, we can come back to that. And we were going to look at snow on the macro time frames. Macro time frame. What's BBY been doing in the meantime? Anyway, snow currently 164. Good to see you pushing back above Golden Cross 236. Coming into these levels at the minute, which is free at 283. Right, cool. And what's BBBY? I'll come back to snow in a second. 782. Let's push back up. Boom, boom. Good to see that. Price action, not it may well be then you're looking at this sort of thing. And that could obviously, depending on Ooh. Ooh, ew. LLJ, that'll do. So you're looking at that and potential bull flag, and we'll see if it breaks below that. I'd start getting worried about filling the gap. So far I'll keep an eye on that, but that's all I really need because I'm actually going over to snow. So I'm not putting an alert on that because I'm back at it. And this is, show's been on for a while now. So let's see, there's class B bearish divergence. These are smaller term time frames. Managed to push into the bullish control zone, not out again. Lower low on RSI, not on price action. Not fantastic. Context of an uptrend though, quite good. Looking left, you pushed back above this previous high, but not at RSI. So at that stage, you might see some sort of a test. 1 hour is not where I want to be spending my time. Right, weekly here, starting off. Broke through, retest, pushing back up, 1.13 extension. So far, so good. That's really good at the minute. It's done most of what you would have anticipated. It's had a retest. Broken out of that previous high, made it back to this 1.13 here. That was that from the downside. 1.13 from the right hand side. It's good. Right, daily. Held that 50 simple. Bullish divergence throughout that period. Continuation then on the top side expected here. You've pushed back to that previous high. Your RSI hasn't quite made it. It's going to though, isn't it? It's going to keep going, isn't it? The histogram says maybe not. But then if it does, it's got an awful lot to run afterwards, you know, and you can see big moves then if it does make them 4 hour. Flash at 164. It currently is 164.06, so not earth shattering when it does that. There's a 200 period moving average. Closing below that, take the test of this, open then above it, break your previous high at 167, bam, go to 183. That looks like it, doesn't it? You know, this is in the bullish control zone. So you just go down there, get it, go up, boom, that'd be great. Well, it's $20 on this thing, probably. There or thereabouts. Tradespotting, I am just getting in the very cool band wagon here to see the clip your bro made should be viewed right now. Oh, interesting. Go and check that clip out from Rocky on 5for5. It probably is really interesting. I would check it out right now if I wasn't doing this. You should check it out. You're in the bullish control zone. You're a little bit divergent at the minute, but this is very strong. Keep going. You wouldn't worry about it. 183 the target. 164.0 would be like a flash on those higher 4 hour. Though what does the 1 hour say? It's crossed. Not tested it, but you tested a lot of things throughout that period of time. You are close enough there. Like we say, class B bearish divergence here, come back down, then catch 236, 150. Would that be possible in the hourly? Maybe. You've got these crosses. 200 period moving average would be a natural area to find some support here. Holding the center line RSI at the same time would suggest this is very bullish. You might get an entry at 153, 154. You know, and if you did, that could be taking you up to 183. 30-minute time frame also suggests that might happen there. Continuation. Top side, not yet, right? Not with that. And here, you need to make it right. Yeah, so maybe you do get that towards the end of the day, down towards 152, and then positive moves for next week happening then, maybe on snow, and moving higher. There's flash back on 30 minutes at around 213, which Should also be a 50% retracement back up again. On the hourly time frame, you've got a flash miles away, all the way up at $362. Oh my goodness, you know, this is like a fallout with a stop loss as opposed to taking profit, because this trade could turn out to be insanely good, and it already is brilliant for everyone who's watching the 5 and 5. Like, so if you want to, this could turn out to be insanely good. 4 hour, I mean, we're working our way back up the TA here. You got your flash at 164. What's going on there? We were above it and now we're below. Anyway, whatever, right? So you're going to go back up. It's great. Right? So 4 hour time frame, you look at the golden pocket there, and that's up at 246. You break the 200 period moving average. The prior high from this formation that you're looking to is around 195. That's $30 there already, and you're not even all the way to the target. Up to the daily, the 200 period moving average is in and around this golden pocket. That's a 2618 extension here already. This is interesting. Interesting. 2-day, nothing extra, but like there's your 200s really jumping out at 50 on the way, so you'd see it at the 5-day. Weekly time frame, that's where it's also at. You know, interesting things on snow. Tradespotting. I am speechless. I can't thank you enough for your perspective and generosity earlier, and you're giving me your time today. It means the world to me. You're welcome, Flokalov. Everybody here gets the same. They all know it. Everybody knows it. It's what it's like around here. Thanks. Yo. Yo-bitty-yo-yos. Thanks, Bulldog. So, wait, again. Try. Whoa, we're going to run this on Monday. Whoa, going to run it on Monday. Take a look for yourself. Well, lots of good people have paid me to look at things today and have tried to do my best possible analysis on it, and I'll take away from it by taking other people's tips and looking at silly nonsense, right? If I was going to, I'd be heavily inclined to say, look, this piece of shit and whatnot, and I haven't even seen it, so that wouldn't be fair. So I'll let somebody else, probably, you know, that little dude that sits inside your own head controlling the levers, I'll let him take a look at it for you. And we'll obviously welcome to look at anything if you're at me and you're Tradespotting, play my 5 and clip. It's not play my clip. It's not a 5 and 5. You mean it's not a 5 and 5? You betcha I will, Rocky. You betcha I will. Where's the link? Rocky Outcrop. There's the link. Oh no, I'm going to open it in my own checkbox. Something went wrong. Oh no. And can I go back here? I can't get it. But I get this. That's the studio. That's not what I want. Go back. Back. What's the back button? Go back. Backity back. Back. I can't get it here, but maybe I can get it here. View page source. That's not going to work. If I click that, does it open a link? Does. Oh, I got it here. Let's try to show me adverts. Before you continue to YouTube, reject, I'll accept them. And then...
I'm here today.
You're not, mate. You're in my... You get out of here. In fact, stop it. So, how do I get the link to this? Because I need to get back to the chat box. Oh, restore chat here. This is how we'll do it. And then I'll go via this link, open link in a new tab. There we go, and then I take this Creator Studio. How am I giving me a... Oh, Rocky, you've given me this link and it wants me to go to Creator Studio. Why? It's a YouTube link. It's not a studio link. Oh, stop it. Stop it. www. Is this working? There, I finally got it. You'll be so glad to hear I got it. Oh, great. Oh, brilliant. Oh, love it. So I do. I got it. You'll be so glad. Oh, I got it. Start up advert, eh? Right.
Yeah.
My central bank and your central bank were sitting by the fire. My central bank said to your central bank, I'm gonna set your money on fire. Talk about Ayo, 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 Ayo. I go one day.
It applies to the Bank of England, it applies to the Federal Reserve particularly. And it
they just shouldn't have been printing that extra money.
They shouldn't have been printing the extra money. What governments were doing was enough to deal with the consequences of COVID.
And that, your point is that has contributed to what we're now seeing in terms of the cost of living.
Yes, and it's true. You can see it with all central banks, that they're now worried about inflation when they weren't before. And it's not all the result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
And this was foreseeable.
My central bank and your central bank were sitting by the fire. And my central bank said to your central bank, I'm gonna set your money on fire. Talk about Ayo, 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 Ayo. I go one day.
Wow, that was incredible. What a brilliant show. Yeah. Yeah, my central bank and my central bank set your money on fire. Wow, that was well good fun. It was great watching that. That was the best clip in a million years. 10-year bonds flash at 101, it's 101, it's 100 at the minute. Ooh, that's not much happening there. What's with your 5-year and your 2 years? Where are you and why do you keep moving off my list, you big cheeky sneakies? Here, that was a brilliant clip. You should be checking out Rocky Outcrop. He's got better macro analysis than anyone. Yeah, so your 2 year just traced inverted there to the 10-year. Oh, no, look up to your previous high and a little bit more. Partially divergent, though. Well, we'll see how that goes. You know, this is America, innit? It's not like they're all that bothered about the British. Yo, British. Oh, RYCEY, I didn't get through it yet. I didn't get to the RYCEY. It's 105. Okay, so has it changed much? Hasn't changed much since we did the 5 and 5, I don't think. RYCEY gaps. We looked at RR the other day, didn't we? Quite in depth, so that's useful if you are interested in it. Came up to this area, did highs, downward sloping resistance. You met at this area, a little bit of a gap. Top side of that's where you also find your 50 simple on the daily at 11. One spot 11, low side of this 1.06. You're 105 in a minute, down 1%. 1.13 extension from this low to high, which didn't yet break, would be in around 94 cents. Previous low around 97, and the A low around $1. All places to aim if you do continue down. Nothing to worry, like nothing to say you're going to change your mind here. Broken through the center line, didn't manage to persist this above there for very long. Met this previous low here. Price action is clearly not as low as that, but it's very close. And nor has it turned around, certainly. There's a gap just above, so if that persists, it'll only be pushing down again for an hour and a 4 on the 4 hour. What time is it? I'm getting no time to live my life here. Right, there's the 200 period moving average, and I'm going to have to start limiting the live stream to a specific time because I've taken over my life, and the overheads aren't just financial, it's like health and all as well in it, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make it all work. Plus with all the extra content I'm doing, geez, what am I doing to myself? Like, I don't burn out, I just probably die or something. Right here, so there's the low at 97. You know, if it does push lower, and there's a 1.13 extension at 94, for some reason I've got this in. Is that a target or something? What am I like with that? Daily, was weekly going to give me the information? Why am I doing that? Yo, why am I doing that? Remind me. Today, this previous gap here, that's what it is. Low side of this gap. Yeah, in at around 93. And this is a question mark, right? Takes it beyond this 1.13 extension, fill this gap. So RYCEY, though, doesn't have to do that for Rolls Royces. And, oh, you know what Britain's like, oh, we'll just slap on to 50 basis points. Wow, brilliant. It's because they hate closets. I said it was earlier, didn't I? Anyway, your central bank, my central bank. We just watched the clip and it was brilliant. So there's the gap. You could easily go up there and meet downward sloping resistance. It's not inherently bullish right now, and these are the lows that I'd be looking to next take it at. If it does break up 200 period moving average, nice. Prior high within the formation, even nicer. 154 gap there previously, not completely filled. I mean, it will go there at some stage, but it's not doing it right now. Anyway, it's RYCEY rather than Rolls Royce. What's Rolls Royce doing? Just quickly take a look at Rolls Royce, because this is where it's happening anyway. Whoops, sorry. There we are. RR dot 200 period moving average 105. Currently it's at 83. Woof there, woof, and that not lower, so no bullish divergence, but then these previous lows, class B bullish divergence, didn't take you back to resistance, which was the previous high, so that's okay so far. Nothing really desperately worrying about it. Nothing to worry about divergence there, but you're below the center line. It's not wonderful, is it? 4 hour. That's not great. Slipping down there, rolling over. Here you've got bullish class B bullish divergence. Bounce so far is taking you to your 236 from there. Down, bam, bam, 382. From this previous high, just 236, I imagine. Yeah, 236, 83 bucks or so. Previous low here, 85, being resistance, bouncing between those, putting in a bear flag potentially. If so, then take it from this area rather than the previous one. Breakdown, take you in around 73 bucks. Potentially 73 bucks. That'd be a 1.13 extension from this same fib, so it could be the next oscillation if you're moving down. 75 to 73. That breaks 68, 69 bucks is where you'd maybe get a 1618 extension. This previous low here, 68, 69, and then this. Where was your gap? Did we not see a gap somewhere? Where was it? On the weekly. Big weekly. Where are you? Was it in there? Where are you? Where are you? I don't know. I'm now losing track of my mind. It does happen. It's not over here, and I've stretched everything out to find it. Oh no, I'm lost. This reminds me when I really was lost. Right, so I'm losing my utility, effective utility here, right? So thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for everybody who supported the channel. I'm pretty sure I got through every request. Apart from that one that was attached to something at Reddit Army thing. Like, what's that? And then we even got to see a clip from Rocky Show, which was incredible. And I got some chat back. RYCEY nicely, thanks for the TA. I'll do some more, and obviously I'll keep looking at RYCEY. You know, if we're talking fundamentals, it's fantastic. Some good summary. Thanks, Rocky. Stop giving me stupid messages, computer. And what else did I want to say? Well, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Punch. Tradespotting, you need to stay and drink more coffee. The only way is still on the way that and outdoor walk, go in your bro, of course. Ha! Well, where am I going to get time for all that? Are we not watching GME? We did loads of GME, didn't we? 39, 194, topside is resistance, $40 is what we're aiming for topside. Have you got there yet? 39.25, not yet. Are we not watching GME? You want me to leave the stream on? See, it damages my YouTube stats so much, you know, because people come and leave so much that then, and you know, overall and whatnot, and YouTube hates me anyway. So, plus was Rocky not on there earlier doing stuff? And like most people that show up would just say like, watch what's going on live, and if it's not interesting to them, they don't tend to watch the rest of the video. It's like, what are you doing? It's loads of video. I spent ages making it. It took this long to make the thing. I could have made it faster. I would have. Well, goodness sakes. There's one, Jimmy at 39.10. Look, I am at 39.10. Look, you do not see it. I'm looking at it right now. Where are you guys at in this stream? I'm looking at it, and yeah, also it's like still not defeated this idea that it's going to put in a failure swing and it's going to come back down, test 33.71, and it looks like a huge trap, you know? Boom, 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 boom. But it could be a good close today, you know, could close today, but at $40, 42, and then 50, great, that's what I'm looking for. But it does look on smaller term time frames here. Look like it may come back to 33, yo, and I've got an itchy eye. I've got to catch with my own life. Thanks very much, everybody. Right? Great, back to you is all there. Great to see you. Gah, not a trap. Gah, yarg. Hopefully not. Thank you for the song, Rocky. Yeah. Carmen, cheers, Carmen. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for interacting with the stream, being so good to me. Cheers, buddy. Cheers, Jimmy. You're welcome. Sure, if my beautiful wife is watching, I love you. What a guy he is. I think everybody in the chat box would be like, love to be married to you, Nacho. Your wife may be lucky, beautiful, but she's very lucky. Oh, you both are. Thanks, Nacho friend, legend. Whoa, there it is from Natural Friend. He says he loves his wife, but this is a message to me, really. A letter from America. When we go, we will send back